start, Nick.
You go ahead.
I can always do it.
You're gonna say, can you get water? Get water if you're thirsty.
I'm gonna grab a beer, but...
Get a beer.
Go there.
Jesus.
I want to keep it close.
Oh my god.
What's the problem with it?
Like a fucking slave driver over here. You drinking? Yeah. You drinking?
Well, you can take it forever. I want to try to get everything done timely.
I think we're passive.
Yeah. I can stand up any time and still be heard. Grab a drink.
Alright. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Alright. It's gonna be me at my most raw because usually I have time to process shit and I haven't.
Yeah.
I slept through the first 15 minutes.
That was the creepiest part. Sorry. This is like a normal show.
Part?
No, the creepiest part was the beginning.
Wait, did you start recording?
Oh yeah, I've been.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
This is the show.
So talk. Don't like whisper insecurely.
Oh.
You gotta speak.
Well, I'm gonna introduce the
Project.
show.
You gotta speak it.
I fell asleep during the first 15 minutes. I don't know if that's a reflection of the movie or just...
Oh, that's already on the record.
Yeah.
But I'm projecting now instead of whispering it to myself.
And I was gonna say that's the opening that
I really am a slave driver.
they talk about it a lot in like the news. They're like, "You've never seen a Batman."
That was a
opening
poor
like
word
this."
choice. You said it first.
Ooh.
You guys ready?
Yeah. Let's do a thing.
Alright, so as you can tell, we have all just come back from seeing the Batman. So hello, and welcome to Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, the premier flagship and international podcast of LRM Online.
There it was, everyone.
There it was. So Danny is sadly not here. He is away. We're going to drop his review right here.
What?
Right here, right
What?
now.
I didn't
Right
know
here.
that.
Hey guys, so I just walked out of the Batman, and first thoughts, spoiler free. First thoughts, I'll need to stew on it for a while, I think. I really liked it. The runtime isn't a problem. Great Bat, okay Bruce, good cat, and an awesome dick. In the sense that he's a private detective, right? So he is the greatest detective in the world, etc., or whatever it is. So from that point, it's a great bat, a good Bruce, a good cat, and a great dick. Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. Action set pieces are good. It is very dark in a sense of it's not kid friendly. It's no blood, but there is a lot of violence and there's a lot of moodiness and there's a lot of thriller-esque type of things that are not necessarily kid-friendly. So I do think they've pushed that boundary of the PG-13 or whatever it is quite well. I really liked it. Really, really good. Not sure if I'm going to want to watch it again, but I did really enjoy it. One or two things that I can't wait to talk to you guys about. I hope you like it as much as I did. Yeah, great dick.
There it was.
What do you guys think?
Great points, Danny!
That is really good points. I agree. He indeed had a great, massive detective skill.
That movie had good dick.
It did.
This isn't an international episode, but it is a very special one. So this is the... Why are you laughing? It's not special? This is
In the
special for you?
80s special episodes meant people
That's
were about
right.
to get molested.
That's
Or
right.
have cancer.
Or get
The
killed.
lesson is don't meet your heroes. That's the lesson. So, this is the first time we've ever met each other. This is the 3-year
Sort of.
anniversary. Sort of. What?
We've all met each other, except
Oh, yeah.
you're the only one who hasn't
But
met
I
him
hadn't
yet.
met each of us hadn't met. Never mind.
We're all meeting someone
There's an
new.
intricate web of us all meeting someone new.
In person.
In
So
person.
this is on the 3-year anniversary of Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, when Nick and I first started. So that's the other thing that makes it very exciting. And Nick wants to say something very special about it.
Well,
Anniversary.
3-year anniversary.
Honey, what would you like to say?
First of all, I love you.
Oh my God.
Second of all,
Blushing.
Even though mommy and daddy don't live together anymore. Stay away from the bicycle repairman down the street.
the 3rd-year anniversary present is leather. And we had plenty of that in the Batman, where it seems like every main character was wearing leather at one
have
part.
leather.
From the Riddler to... Spoilers right at the top. This is just a Batman show, everyone.
This is just a Batman show. We have no news. Apparently there's nothing going on in the world except Batman.
And everyone
Right
wears
now.
leather.
Yes, that is
Only-
accurate.
only Batman.
Only Batman is going on. Nothing else pressing happening at all.
I haven't been on Twitter for 2 days, so I don't know.
This is all true.
Believe
probably
news
don't know.
exists outside of Twitter.
No, but on Twitter, it actually shows you real news sources.
I'm
We've had
aware-
this argument before.
I'm
I'll go to
aware.
NBC on Twitter.
I'm just saying, there are other places you can go for news if you wanted to find news. You're not restricted to the Twitter sphere.
You guys done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
Ladies, you all done?
Yeah.
All right.
We good.
So, on this very special episode of Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, we had an opportunity to see The Batman, the newest film from Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, and a whole host of stars. So, the Rotten Tomatoes score in this film right now is at an 85%, which is kind of interesting. It's been dropping ever since it first dropped. You've got
How many reviews does it have?
So it's got.
It was
I
like
was asking questions on the answer
it
to.
was high 90s.
So
when we had a few.
359.
Okay,
on
so
the tomato meter.
That's pretty extensive then. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
It's everybody.
pretty comprehensive.
And so that's from the critics, and then it's got a 91%
I can
from
see
the
that.
audience.
Huh. I thought they'd both be higher, honestly.
Well, so the critics score started out at 90-something percent.
And it was like 70 even people, I think. It was a pretty high number, but not
Yeah,
300. And it was a
significant,
90
yeah.
something.
Yep.
But that's the geek websites like ours.
Yeah.
How many people have verified rated it audience wise?
Oh my god, you're gonna keep making me go back to this.
Just stay on it if you're talking about it.
God.
So verified. So top critics. Let's see. Top critics does not give me a number.
Oh, okay. No, not critics. Audience. Like how many verified audience?
None of them are verified audience.
They're
Yeah,
verified
right?
because they have the verified thing. Otherwise, they
Verified audience, no number.
No number. That's
No
interesting.
number. It doesn't say how many total.
Interesting. Usually it
but you
says
can-
like 3,000 plus or 300
But it's
plus.
not like
So you can-
Marvel people are.
Oh my God, Nick! Basically, it's saying you have to somehow verify that you had a ticket to the movie. in order-
5,000 plus.
Thank you.
I didn't know they did that now.
Yeah, they did it ever since Captain Marvel. Speaking of anniversaries, ever since Captain Marvel, which was the first film that was reviewed on this podcast, because of all the Captain Marvel hootenanny regarding, Brie Larson and how people kept
Oh.
review bombing it.
Yeah.
They
Right,
put
yeah.
that in place where you have to somehow verify that you saw the movie in order to review the movie
Oh.
on Rotten
I like the
Tomatoes.
reviews here.
Well, good. At least Captain Marvel's doing some good in the world.
Yeah.
If not being a... Anyway. So, we're here to talk about this film, and do you guys want to jump right into spoilers? Do you want to do non-spoiler impressions? How do you want to do it? Regular show?
Let's start with non-spoiler. Let's do it like
Non-spoiler
normal.
impressions.
Non-spoiler, then jump into spoiler.
I've already turned everyone
You,
away.
you said Riddler though. Like everyone knows Riddler's in the movie.
I
That's
know.
Not
Yeah,
a,
I
that's not a
honestly
spoiler.
don't know what would be a spoiler.
Nothing so far.
Nothing so far. Yeah.
But I did already warn people.
Well, whatever. They can get over it.
All right, non-spoiler impressions. Let's go around the horn.
All right.
I feel like spoiling Batman is like spoiling the Bible. Isn't everything you want to know just public information at this point?
Basically.
Yeah, but they don't know which stuff they chose.
Which
from
edition of the Bible
Yeah,
they-
it's like watching Passion of the
So the
Christ.
King
Like, which
James
moments
version?
did they choose?
Got it.
So who goes first?
I'll go first.
Left of the dealer.
I went in with high expectations, just like No Way Home. It has a few faults to it, but again, it was so good in every other way that it didn't let me down at all as Batman.
It had
my
a few
favorite superhero.
What were the things that
Are
you
you
weren't?
going to interrupt him like during his
I'm
first...
sorry.
No,
Jesus.
well, you go ahead.
No, I was just curious because you had a few things that you were like, had a little few things.
Not only did you make stank face as he's making his...
So did you.
Huh?
You were making
I
stank
was
face
looking
too?
at him
Oh.
making a stank face. It's like, my stank face was like, why
I
are you
think he
making a
was
stank
introducing
face?
his thought, and then he was going to elaborate on it probably.
Yeah, but
Okay.
now who knows what it was.
Fair enough.
Spider-Man
Who
and
knows what?
those are two of the most anticipated movies I've had in a while, and neither one disappointed me. Even though they have faults, the rest is so good I can overlook them, and I'll say it right now, A+.
All right, so let's get into your faults.
Those
when
would
we
be
get into
spoilers. Yeah.
We'll save that for spoilers. Jammer,
Sup.
would you like to go into your
Yes.
non-spoiler impressions of
Should
this
I
movie?
interrupt you?
Go for it.
I did.
I thought
I don't think we should interrupt him.
The Batman was a gorgeously made, finely crafted mystery film noir-esque movie that kind of felt like a sort of like a modern twist with like a mix of Tim Burton and old school film noir thrown in there, and I just really like it. Felt like sort of like an ode to filmmaking in many ways. It wasn't as personal, as emotional as I would have liked, but like whatever. It's still overall a really, really good movie. I think it's definitely worth seeing.
Okay. Would you like to give it a grade?
Right off the top, I'd say I'd probably give it a B+.
Okay.
My turn.
Tanya.
I went in with absolutely no expectations. I don't think I saw any of the trailers beyond the first teaser that came out 11 million years ago.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I don't think it was worth the runtime. I think a lot of fat could have been cut off of it. It felt like an homage to 90s serial killer thrillers. It had a very strong Seven, Silence of the Lambs kind of feel, which I thought was an interesting take for a Batman movie. So I'm a fan of those kind of movies, so I appreciated that. I would give that a solid B. I did kind of doze off and had a very violent wake-up jerk. I'm not going to blame the movie. I'm going to blame being middle-aged and flying to Colorado just to watch a movie.
Okay. So I agree with a mix of a lot of what you all have said. I really enjoyed the film. I do think that it was very long, but it was weird. Every time we got to a point where I thought that the movie could have ended, they introduced a new, oh, now we got to go do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, I'm okay going there. And so that didn't bother me quite as much as I thought it would. But I definitely recognized that it reached these moments of it probably should have could have ended. What I did really enjoy about this film was the detective story, right? I feel like we finally got the detective Batman story we all deserve, and that's the part that I'm really here for.
And the best Gordon relationship, which ties into the detective story.
I'm not quite there yet.
I'm not there yet
I don't
either.
know if I'm there
I don't know
yet.
if it's the best Gordon relationship either. I really like Gary Oldman.
It's close to the comics, I think. I'm not saying performance yet. I'm just saying the way they worked.
Their connection.
Yeah,
You
their
can
connection is closer.
Yeah, so
Except for the Nolan, you put the blanket over my shoulders and I was a boy part, but that's a different connection.
I can see what you mean. Give me 2 more films so I can get to where it's the best.
I think I won't give you 2 more, but I'm sure Warner Brothers and Matt Reeves
They'll
will.
give you many.
Somebody give me more. Probably a reboot. But right off the top, I would give it an A-. I enjoyed it that much. And with that said, you guys ready to jump into spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Spoiler.
We've got 100. Spoiler. We got a hungry Doge in here. Got some food delivered. So one of the things I thought was really cool about this, actually kind of weird, and I should have looked up his name. And spoiler alert, I haven't really had any time to process this, so some of the stuff that I have is just written off the Alamo Drafthouse order card.
Menu, yeah.
So I don't know the actor's name, but I thought it was interesting that the clown that they had in the beginning in the initiation scene, if any of you guys ever watched Titans, he plays Tim Drake on Titans. So I thought it was really interesting that they had that same actor play
That is interesting,
a
yeah.
very small role in this.
I noticed 2 guys from Chernobyl. I didn't know what
Yes,
to make of that.
the police commissioner, chief.
Like the head of
Yeah.
energy
Yeah.
guy and
And
the
then-
one of the miners, like the head miner. I think the
Oh, really?
that cop. I'm pretty sure.
I wonder why. I was curious when they do that.
Maybe some of the
I'm
casting
sure of one
director.
guy. I'm almost positive of that.
Yeah, I
one
definitely
of those cops was a
recognized.
miner. Yeah.
He was the asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're all assholes in Chernobyl except for one character.
So, one of the things I did like about this going into spoiler thoughts was the fact that this really did feel like a year 2 film. So we've seen multiple iterations of Batman. This felt like him. He's not buff. He's not the most intelligent person. There's stuff that he doesn't know. He's not the best fighter. And so I feel like we're getting somebody who is still growing as an individual. And I really liked it from that perspective. And it's weird because I feel like we've kind of gotten some of that story in Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. But ultimately what was weird about those 2 movies is that was the entirety of his time as Batman, right? In that trilogy, he was Batman for 2 years or less. So I think that that's the weird thing. So here we're getting somebody who's ostensibly going to go beyond that.
We've never seen Batman panic at the edge of a cliff.
Yes.
That was
fear.
One
funny.
thing I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
This is the first movie where I actually felt afraid when he might fall, because in every other
He
movie it's
wasn't
like...
ready
he was afraid
because
he
he
was gonna
wasn't
fall.
confident
well,
that he
he's
was
not
going to
its
make it.
member. I mean, I know he'd make it, but like in Batman, The Dark Knight, he just jumps off with Rachel.
Right.
And it's just the cape swirls and they hit a car and they're fine. There's there's no fear of falling in Nolan's trilogy whatsoever.
I really enjoyed the performances in this, but for me, my standout performance in this was Colin Farrell as Penguin. He's unrecognizable. He's funny. He's menacing. He has such a spectrum of emotion and stuff that he's showing in this movie. I really enjoy that. I'm curious who, if anybody, who stood out to you?
Paul Dano, for me.
Yeah.
It was just, even, because once you take off the mask, you're like, oh, okay, he's Paul Dano, but then he's and part of it's the way he's written. He's written really, really good too, but he crushes that performance because he's not the kind of guy you'd expect to be hired in this type of movie. He's obviously a great actor in independent films,
Right.
But I was blown away even when he's revealed, and even after he's defeated. It almost feels like a post-credit sequence. He's just. Yeah, he topped Jim Carrey somehow, you guys.
Oh my god. What?
And so I'm glad you brought him up. And so to circle back to Tanya's point about that, so when he was being interviewed before, Reeves actually said that his inspiration for this version of the Riddler was the Zodiac Killer. Mm-hmm. So the quote is, the premise of the movie is that the Riddler is kind of molded in almost Zodiac Killer sort of mode and is killing very prominent figures in Gotham, and they are the pillars of society. These are supposedly legitimate figures. It begins with the mayor, then escalates from there. So it's very much grounded in that, what you're talking about.
Did and also obviously we discussed Seven also as something it looked like. In
That
Seven, did he
journal
live?
scene was lifted.
Yeah, the
like,
journal
so
thing
hard
is
with it.
straight from. Obviously, the cipher is very Zodiac. But
I mean, also just basic serial killer.
yeah,
Like,
were there clues in Seven? Like, were they following clues on that one
Yeah.
too?
Yes.
They're
Like did he
following
leave notes
the
and
Seven
stuff?
Deadly Sins. Yeah.
Okay.
With his
Yeah,
powers.
basically, yeah. This
You've
movie's
seen
basically
Seven, right?
Seven. Yeah, it's been a while. I've seen it many times.
What's in the box? I feel like you have to say it every time that movie comes
You
out.
really do. It's a kind of contractual obligation, even if you didn't sign anything.
I agree. What are some of the other things that jumped out to you guys about this movie?
It was so beautiful.
Yeah,
like
the
the
cinematography.
cinematography was gorgeous. Like, and it felt, and I think I've used this for. I may have used the same exact adjective. That's the right parts of speech. For
Does it end in LY?
Joker, and it felt very scrapey. Like there's a lot of texture to everything, and he also Reeves likes to stick camera on things and just kind of let it sit, and has
Yeah.
things like move around it a lot, and it just made it very sort of dynamic. Everything was often very close and intimate, and it just felt unlike any other Batman film we've had to date in terms of how it was shot. I know in the past, like when it comes to Nolan's Batman films, one of the biggest weaknesses was like the action scenes. There and they were just like he just had very standard sort of floaty cinematography, and it was just, I wouldn't say it's basic. It was competent, but this one just felt like it was competent. It was professional. Okay, whatever.
It didn't
So,
have
let
a special
me-
look to it. No
The
one's-
difference I thought I saw in Nolan's and other fight choreography, there's a choreography to it. Like it almost seems like a very creative fighting dance.
Right.
This felt like fights. Like you could tell it was a choreographed fight, but he came out with he was like using a gun as what do you call it? As a blunt instrument. It was just
Yeah.
clubbing people with a gun.
At one
Yeah.
point, he had a bat.
Yeah,
He
he
did
was
have
like,
a
Batman.
Was that a good Easter egg?
Did it work?
It was alright.
Yeah, it was alright. It was okay.
I did notice the cinematography, and I felt like, oh, that's a choice. I'm not a fan of that choice where you have like when he was floating off a building, his face was very still, but everything else was kind of moving
That was
behind
probably
him.
the most distracting shot for me because I was like, that's not real. That looks fake. Even if it was real, it still felt like it wasn't.
It reminded me of like the Spike Lee dolly, like in everything.
Yeah.
He has like the very still center person with everything moving in the background.
But that scene was quickly interrupted by him smashing his face into
That
the
was one of the
railing.
weaknesses. I thought. It's very.
Jesus Christ.
It's a very realistic movie, but there are two moments where I'm
He got
like,
his ass handed to him a lot in this
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was cool that he took a hit, but like he walked that off.
It's like, take a
easier
hit.
than when he was
Also,
shot
yeah.
right in the chest with a shotgun.
But I mean, we don't know how strong his armor is. So, like,
Yes, we do. Pretty goddamn
it's
strong.
pretty goddamn strong.
It was almost comic. It was like a ooh, but it was also almost a comical moment. And then when he jumps his car over the truck because the truck's back just happens
Yeah.
to line up exactly for the tires hit it, like it's a video game.
Yeah, it's like a quick time event.
Yeah.
Like,
But, like,
I mean, it's
right
an
now.
action movie and it's supposed to look cool, but
Yeah,
everything else is
but-
way more grounded in those two moments.
But going back to like the cinematography, like I just thought it was probably like that Batman movies, the Nolan movies just didn't have a visual distinctive style in my head. This one did. Like I said, it mixed
I would
in
agree with that.
Tim Burton and like film noir, and like it worked
Who
wonderfully.
did Sin City? Like where it was very
That was Robert Rodriguez
Frank Miller
Just-
too, right?
and Frank Miller. Yeah.
where the colors are very rich and bright, and
Yeah.
there's a lot
Yeah.
of red and a lot of blue.
White and black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The score stuck out to me more than the cinematography. I really like the score.
Yeah.
I don't think Nolan had I couldn't even tell you what Nolan's Besides the
I can.
like
I would recognize it, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
yeah. I feel like if I listen to this one more time, I would like that song as much as I like Danny Elfman's theme.
I thought
I
that
agree.
the weakest music from the Nolan series was the last one.
Rises.
Yeah, Rises.
You about to say? Oh, I thought you were about to say Rise of Skywalker. Like,
And
God,
no.
Jesus.
So the strongest one to me was definitely The Dark Knight, and then the other two. So Rises is not good. Begins is fine, but I accepted it because it felt like it just bled so well into The Dark Knight. It felt like an evolution. So I accepted it as being like, this is proto Batman, and now Dark Knight is definitely Batman.
Yeah.
Now that I've already compared them, is it fair to compare them? Should we comparing them? Should we be comparing this
hard
Batman
not
so
to.
closely?
It's hard not to. I agree.
Especially the Nolan one.
Well, what would you want to compare specifically?
I don't know.
Like I said,
I
it's
mean, comparing it at all to.
Well, I would
So I
say
think even
it's
the fight scenes, that's like, as what's frustrating to me, Batman is two things to me. Remember the scene in the Matrix?
Bat
where, like,
and Man.
What is the Matrix? In the Matrix, they're like, what is the Matrix, right? And they're talking about it's this, it's that, it's that. For me, at least two of the core elements of Batman is he has to be a detective and he has to be a fighter, right? Somebody that is good at fighting. So that to me, when you say it's competent, that's fine.
I was talking about the physical filmmaking.
Sure, but I'm saying it has to be more than that for this particular character. I think when you're talking about a character who is all these martial arts skills, and in that movie you saw him go to ninja school and learn all these fight styles and do all that stuff, to get what we get wasn't particularly good. We don't know all of the training that this particular version of Batman got. We know at least
They implied Alfred taught him,
right.
which made me think like maybe Alfred didn't teach him like monks in Tibet. He taught
Right,
him
yeah,
how to
that's what I
dirty
thought.
fight, which is why his fights were so gritty
like
and dirty.
Batman Earth 1, which is what his cowl is based off of. Alfred is missing a leg from the war, and he's like, a war veteran who's closer to the age of Andy Serkis.
So is that what he said when he was talking to him? When he said,
I could
when he
teach
was
you to
like-
fight, but I could teach you something.
There's a
be
line
your
when he
father.
said
Yeah.
he was looking at the cipher and he said it reminded me of my days in the service.
Yeah, he's very much supposed to be the Earth 1 Bat. Where he's even Alfred, where he's even young enough that like take him back. He was almost their bodyguard as much as their butler, which is also why he feels guilty.
He said I was supposed to protect him. and I
Yeah,
didn't.
right.
He was just as much a butler and a friend.
Is
to
that
Thomas
like what Pennyworth
as-
is based on too?
Yeah,
Probably,
slightly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but even the animated series, you had elements of that, right? So he would go back to the his SAS days. There's a very specific episode, "The Lion and the Crown," where
I'll have to go back and watch it. I didn't know.
so he and another agent from the old days were
Oh, yeah.
kidnapped by. She's a tiger. She wore red, something like that. I think it's a tiger, and she kidnapped them because she wanted some very specific nuclear codes that they had access to. And that's the general premise of the episode. I don't want to ruin it for you, but you got to see that stuff that up until that point in that cartoon they never really
Even
talked
Michael
about.
Caine references it, where he's like,
In Burma with my friends.
Yeah.
Heard
"Slice
that
of a
scene?
tangerine."
Size of a tangerine.
What are you doing in Burma, Michael Caine?
Serving.
I always was distracted to me how he said friends and not like,
Mercenaries.
yeah, fellow
Mercs.
soldiers. Like, I was in Burma with my friends. It's like, were you guys like vacationing? Like, what were y'all doing there?
You know what they were doing.
I call my military friends friends. I mean, we were just sitting in an office.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, all right.
My
You know
mates,
what?
he
I'm
said
the
mates.
asshole here. The two military people looking at me go like,
Yeah, we're
that's totally fine. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
We don't call them the other instruments of imperialism. We call them our friends.
Yeah, those murderers over there. What'd you guys think of the plot? So we had a plot that was winding. It was in and it was out. It involved classic Batman villains from both kind of the rogues gallery as well as gangsters. And so again, we're kind of revisiting some of Batman Begins-esque territory of melding those two worlds. This plot seemed, I don't want to say complicated, but kind of complicated. Do you guys agree or disagree?
I think it was as complicated as it needed to be given the type of story they were trying to tell.
And it's the Riddler.
Yeah, and it's the Riddler. Like, literally, because it's the Riddler, it's about going from clue to clue to clue to clue and trying to piece it all together. So I think considering, like, kind of having all those different aspects, you have the Falcone stuff, you have the
Catwoman stuff's really
The
important.
Catwoman
It
stuff,
brings
the
in
Riddler
Falcone
stuff.
a different way.
a bunch of other stuff, like, all those, I guess, what's it called? Tentpoles, like,
Yeah.
whatever, to hold up the entire plot. I think it worked really well.
That
I
way
think
the
the
Riddler
plot
doesn't have
was...
to be front and center all the time either. There's,
Right, I think the plot was one of the strong points for me.
I would agree.
Like, it wasn't... The characters were okay. Like, they were fine. They were serviceable. I think they were strong, but not amazing. But the plot itself really was like, it's still a great movie because the plot is really strong and everything just works.
Did always enjoy the minor character. The same cop, was it Martinez or something? You
Yeah.
saw like same cop every time. Each time he grows more and more respectful and afraid of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He kind of reminded me of Oscar Isaac.
Are you supposed to be touching
It just
this
brought me
stuff?
back to Oscar Isaac in Sucker Punch, of all movies. I think it was the
weird.
mustache. It was the mustache. Even though it didn't look
Still
the
not
same.
watching that
He looked
movie
like
and it's
Gomez
revealed he's
It's
in
not
it.
good.
in that movie. But whatever.
You know what I thought? I thought that when he first approached him, I thought he was going to be like Bullock. I was like, I want a live action.
yeah.
Bullock. I want a live action.
They
we
Bullock.
need
haven't
to do
had
it in the
one yet.
next
I haven't
movie.
had one yet.
And
Need
the-
to do it in the next
We had
movie.
who's the woman who works with Bullock?
I think it's Martinez.
Marti-
No,
No.
it's a Latina name.
Rodriguez.
Ramirez.
Or Ramirez. She was in the
She's
Dark
been
Knight.
in. Yeah, that's what I thought she's been in.
She was
Oh,
one of
so
the
you know
people
what?
who
I'm
portrayed.
thinking animated series. It wasn't Ramirez.
That's where I got it from. But I feel like we haven't had the live action Bullock, but we had the live action the lady whose name I couldn't remember.
I thought she had a different name. I'll figure that out.
But you haven't seen. But didn't we have that character
We had-
that character in like we had him in Batman Begins and we had him in wasn't he the falafel guy?
Bullock?
Yeah.
Bullock's
Different
never
name.
dirty either.
Oh, it wasn't him.
Plus,
Yeah,
Bullock
Bullock
is,
isn't dirty.
He isn't
Oh.
dirty at all. He's like Gordon.
He was also in Gotham.
Yeah, he was in the only.
Donald
that's
Lowe.
the
Yeah,
only
I'm not
live
gonna
action.
fucking watch Gotham
I
now.
haven't seen Gotham.
Oh, okay.
He was the only part I liked about Gotham.
So the
I'm like,
falafel
we
guy
got
wasn't
Bullock.
Bullock?
No,
No.
I thought it was him.
So
'Cause
he
he's
is
never dirty.
He is that character. So that is a year one character. I can't think of his name. But yeah, that was definitely him.
Because that's when Gordon's even early. Well, came out early in his career, and it was just instead of his dirty partner being Chief, his dirty partner is just dirty partner.
What's the character's name?
Which
Look,
one?
I thought the plot was.
Mustafa?
No.
No, that's the person who owned the falafel stand.
Oh my god.
What, you don't like falafel?
Well, you don't
What
want
were you
falafel
saying
for
about
your
the plot,
kids.
Tanya?
I thought it was
gotta feed my kids.
serviceable. I wonder how they made the choice to add on the Falcone stuff instead of having it be just a straight Seven type movie where they're just following the Riddler around. And I would say it was just on the cusp of convoluted. Because in my mind, those two things were always running concurrently. They weren't really running together, even though Zoe Kravitz was supposed to be the linchpin of those two things. I didn't give a crap about her friend. All right, so I mean, that's
she's
probably my
Russian.
biggest criticism about the movies.
no, that's not why. It's just,
That's my biggest criticism about the movies, though. I didn't really give a crap about anyone.
but then I think I've been desensitized to fridge women, where I just
Yeah.
I reflexively. I don't care about her. You could have done that probably a different way. But which again, again serviceable. I would wonder what was their rationale for doing it that way. Not because I think they should change it, just out of pure curiosity, why they would take two different routes. Because when they took down Falcone, I did have this sense of, oh, the movie's over. And it's like, oh, we haven't
Nope.
even got to the big bad yet. This is just like minor boss.
Yeah.
So
Haven't even gotten to the opening scene of the trailer yet.
Right. Or the last scene of the trailer, right? And so that's one of the things. So, Jammer, your wife Kirsten pointed out something about the trailer. I don't remember what she said. But it made me realize.
how all the action
movies.
scenes
Yeah.
were in the trailer.
Not the final one. Except like the
pretty
third
much
Yes, it
trailer.
was.
I've only seen the fighting in the rafters part in one of the trailers, and it was like one of the ones that.
So then what scene are you talking about?
I only saw it in like the most recent trailer.
To be fair, I think he's talking about there's two scenes in the rafters. One at the club and then one at the very end. I think he's talking about the one
the
that...
one at the end. With,
So you just said it was...
well, I've only seen it in one. There's been like 6 trailers, and it was one I saw online.
so
and
you're saying...
it wasn't
hold on, stop talking. So you're basically
See
saying...
what happens when you try to defend Nick? You get stabbed in the
No,
neck.
no, we basically said they didn't include all of them because the fight scene at the end, except that was only in one trailer.
Yeah, most people didn't see that trailer. I saw it online. It was never even put in theaters.
My point is that it wasn't a trailer.
Okay, fine.
Okay, that's the
And
point.
the explosions were obviously in the main trailer.
Okay, what's your point, Jonesy? Now
The
that
point
we
that I was
we
going to
well
make was,
worn
as
that-
long as this movie was, one of the things that kept my brain ticking was, we haven't seen this scene, we haven't seen this scene, we haven't, and that I would remember, like, and it was very interesting, like the very last scene in the trailer is
Looking
also
up.
the very last scene of the movie, right?
Where he's looking
the
up.
biking scenes, the biking off scenes.
Oh, I'm sorry, right, it's the next to last scene.
The one where he's looking up and he's
looking up
dirty and
covered
stuff.
in dirt.
Oh, right, yeah.
Pretty close. I thought that was going to be the last scene, but it
Which
wasn't.
scene? That scene was great. I don't want to deviate this conversation too far, but remind me to go back to that scene.
The
Batman
dirty scene?
looking up scene. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to say something
does
earlier.
that symbolize something in film?
No.
Visual
Okay, I'll
filmmaking?
just dive into it now.
The idea of
I was
vengeance.
wondering the whole time. I was like, I was like, what is the arc he's going through here?
Yeah.
And it was like at that point it was solidified. It's like it was about him not being vengeance, and they made
justice now.
They made a whole. He's hope.
He's hope. That's Superman's thing. No kidding.
Oh my god. Anyways, my point is that the whole time I was wondering, because he was calling himself Vengeance, they really drew attention to Vengeance again and again and again because she called him Vengeance. By she, I mean Catwoman called him Vengeance, and
then when
it became a part of his identity.
That's who he was, or was that Paul
He
Dano?
said that.
No.
He
Paul
told it to
Dano's in
henchmen.
jail.
He told that to the henchman, and
No, but the last
The
henchman
last
guy, when
henchman,
he
that's
said
what
it,
he said he was, and then he was like, "Well, shit,
and
I
he's
can't."
never heard
be-
Batman say it either.
Right.
It's just then Batman saw himself. And was
I
like,
have to be
shit,
Brand.
I
I
don't
can't
want
be
to
like
be
this guy.
vengeance.
Right.
It's the
wanna-
escalation idea
Yeah.
Yeah.
from the Nolan trilogy, where like that is his
Escalation.
ramifications of him.
yeah.
Which
So
is
this
already
is
is
that.
the creation of the Riddler, and this is the escalate.
Right.
Yeah, like he
Yeah.
only exists because Batman
Which
exists. He's
I
looked
wanna-
up to Batman in a weird way.
Exactly. That's actually another thing that I think is a really cool
Thought they'd be friends.
a really cool differentiator between the Riddler and like the Joker is like his reason behind it, whereas the Joker is chaos. He wasn't chaos. He was fighting for something kind of noble, except doing it way fucking wrong.
Yeah.
But then also, yeah, he looked up to the Batman. Like he was, you said, a result of that escalation, and he was that person who he was trying to work with the Batman. And they had this fucking really great moment.
Yeah.
Near the end of or the beginning of the third act, where in Arkham, where he seems like, oh, he knows he's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that would be a spoiler that he figured out he was.
That
Bruce
I
and
think
called
might
him
be
out
the
on it.
biggest spoiler.
Did he actually know? I couldn't.
No,
tell.
he didn't. He was saying like
Okay.
Bruce Wayne. He was saying like we didn't get him. He's the only one we didn't get, but we got everyone else together.
Oh, good. Because I'm like, that's trouble if you
Yeah.
knew.
I
I couldn't.
thought that entire conversation he was calling him out and saying he figured
first
out.
I
who
thought
was.
that.
He was having a moment.
He's like,
And
he's
he was
the bad
like,
guy.
He
Let's
was
get-
like, we did everything we planned to do, and he's like, Bruce Wayne, but like we didn't get him, and it's like, and so you see Batman freaking out because he's like, shit, he knows who the fuck I am, and he's like kind of cowed in his corner. Then he realizes that he doesn't know that he's him, and that's when he comes to sit down. Because like right before that, he's like
kinda
leaning in the
standing in the
corner,
back.
and he goes to sit down, like, oh, you don't know who the fuck I am.
Yeah, yeah. It was a great reveal because I was just like, what now? Like, where
Right.
does this go now? And then
First with the card.
it was just a great. It was just a great like moment, and I was like thrown off. And then he said, "Yeah, we didn't get him." I was like, "Wait, he doesn't know."
Right.
And they didn't. And
Scotty doesn't know.
The fact
Okay,
that,
because he said you and I are on the same team. We're
Right.
doing the same thing.
Right.
He wouldn't have said that to Bruce Wayne.
But I
Okay,
actually
okay,
like
okay.
the fact that you and Nick didn't quite get that because it didn't. It told us just enough to get it, but it didn't ram down our throats.
Right. And so that is a thing that I was curious how they were going to resolve, because in the trailers, that is a line that
They cut
happens.
it.
He's
Like,
like,
yeah.
he says something like, "You're a part of this too," and he says Bruce Wayne in that way. So you know that Paul Dano at some point says his name,
Yeah.
and it sounds like he's connected the dots. But even in that scene, we're like, does he know?
I feel like
really
if there was
like that.
anybody who could figure it out, it would have been him.
He was obsessed with other
Well-
stuff, though, I feel like.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, and even the way they portrayed him in this movie is very hush-like. And the way that they did
They even used the word hush.
I
at some
know.
point.
Yeah, they
They
did.
wrote it on the
They
screen
did.
at some point.
Yeah.
And I think all of that is
And
deliberate.
Halloween.
Yes.
I love to start on Halloween.
Wait, when is the Halloween? I
It
missed
starts
that.
on the first day of Halloween.
Oh, the
I mean,
story.
the day of
And
Halloween.
he called him out for being dressed like that in the
Oh
in
yeah,
the
you're
police
right.
station.
I got.
Yeah.
And remember the kid goes trick-or-treating when his dad
I just
gets
didn't
killed.
connect into
The
my
new
head with
Robin.
the-
That's
with
a new
the
Robin
long
right
one.
there.
Yeah,
Lord.
so
That's what I was thinking in my head.
who do you, oh yeah, the kid, yeah.
The kid
That
that
was
we
the
see
question I
like
was gonna
3
ask.
different times.
So
And
here's
saved
a
in
note
the
I wrote
church.
about that.
I like
So
how no
wrote-
kid is safe. You can't be a little kid in Batman without being someone
No,
important.
no. So I wrote at the top, Last Jedi. Who's that kid at the end? Is that gonna be somebody?
I don't
And then
think
in
so.
this we're like, who's that kid? Is he gonna be Robin?
I can't fucking
What's
hate
his
it.
first name?
How many articles there were about goddamn Broom Boy at the end of The Last Jedi? It's like that's not the
not
point of
Jason
Broom
Like
Boy.
Brandon.
Him.
No, that was the note that it was the idea of like it's hard not to see someone portrayed that way, and then in this movie, looking at him in that way, like, is that going to be some way? Do you know who that's going to be? Like, and
I wasn't
just
thinking
as-
that until the very, very, very end. I just
When
figured
they showed him
like
the
it
third
was.
time.
I
figured
wasn't thinking
was
that at all.
That their way of not
Really?
not having to go through the beads in the alley. That was the
Pearls.
bit of
The
whatever.
Waynes don't
Yeah.
wear beads.
Yeah.
They're Waynes.
Well,
Or
at least
cufflinks.
they do in the bedroom though.
Oh.
I'm
so
sorry. Wait, hold on. Let
There
Tanya
were
finish.
two
Hold on.
moments-
Let Tanya finish really quick.
yeah, go ahead.
She
Sorry.
can remember.
Beaded pearls.
Actually,
Shut up. So, since they didn't do his origin story of his parents being killed in the alley, we got that connection by him looking at the little
Yeah.
boy who lost his father. So I wasn't really thinking Robin. I don't even know if I was thinking Robin fully until the end, just because like I said, I didn't go in with any expectations. And I was too distracted by the Joker conversation, which I imagine we're going to get to at some point.
So I don't think that you're wrong, but here's how I saw that. There are two ways to look at it. Yes, this is a way of just having him relate to that kid, and we get to see that aspect of it. But I also saw that's also how he felt about Dick Grayson, where he sees this kid who has had his parents taken away from him by a psycho. And in one version of it, it's Two-Face, and another version, it's Sal Maroni. And so that's what spurs him to do that. And so I think
does he have a Robin in the book it's based on?
Which one? This
is based on multiple books.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I would say it mostly borrows from Long Halloween. And Dark Victory
So
is a
there's
sequel,
Hush,
and that's
there's
where...
Long Halloween, there's Dark Victory. I think the thing that would save this kid from potentially being Robin is the fact that his mom is still alive.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless...
The ending.
Well,
She's an acrobat.
There was no acrobats.
Well, no, I was going to say unless they're merging Jason Todd and Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I would enjoy watching a live action Red Hood.
But I would
Dick.
love it if there wasn't a need to turn any child we see in Batman into either Bruce Wayne or Robin, because I just like the fact that he was that connection without having to show the alleyway and the beaded
Wait.
pearls and whatnot.
What happened to his parents?
I don't know. He didn't tell us, so I don't think we'll ever know. But yeah, it was just interesting. Like I love the fact how I think this might be one of the most standalone Batman movies. And it's hard for me to judge that fully because it's like part of the pop culture zeitgeist. Like we all know Batman, but I mean, if we were to take a fucking someone from the 1930s and bring him here and like watch Batman, and do you understand what's going on? I think they would be fully satisfied.
Yeah.
And like they gave enough about the past, they connected enough dots, they made it all fully rounded, and it just ended well. I just think it worked really cohesively in a way that better than any other Batman.
They've been a bit lost with the social media.
Well, yeah, sure.
I'm being glib.
They're like, this is a sci-fi movie. What's happening?
Second to that would be the other movie that doesn't show the pearls. Also, the original Batman is one of the only ones that doesn't show the alleyway scene.
Which
at
original?
all.
Don't
Batman
they show the
89.
other one? Don't they show Jack
No, a
Napier?
different
The
fan-
Tim Burton?
Oh yeah, they do flash back to it, but like, remember they fake open the movie with it, where it's a mom and dad and the kid walking down.
But they show it in the movie, though.
Yes.
So I'm not.
100%.
I'm
I
not.
forgot
focused,
it's a flashback.
I'm not. I wasn't focusing literally on the pearls themselves. Just
No.
the
I know
origin
you
story
meant
of his parents.
I forgot about the Napier flashback.
So you want to hear something creepy? I remember the name of the episode where all three of those officers were in. So there's the Latino officer, Bullock, and another beat cop. I typed in POV, and what's frightening is the second hit is the episode.
What's it called?
It's called POV.
Oh, it's called POV.
It's called POV.
Because it's from their
Perspectives.
It's
Yes.
not from Batman's. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But the thing that bothers me about it, just typing in POV, surfaced.
You're searching
this
enough comic
episode.
book shit. They
Fuck
probably
you.
they follow you.
No, fuck you. One of the other things I thought was cool about this, it feels one of the most. I almost said comic booky, but certainly that would be Batman Forever or Batman and Robin, depending on how you define comic booky. Maybe closest to the comic books, because I cannot think of a time that we have gotten narration.
Yes, I was gonna bring that up. And we see his journals.
Very sensitive.
And so what I like about that was if you think about a comic book and you're reading a comic book, you will see like journal entries on the side.
in the yellow boxes.
Yes. And so that's exactly what that
And
was.
lots
And
of
then-
thoughts, yeah.
And,
And
then
he has like
the journal. So
the
it's
book
like,
is even called like October
Yeah.
Year 2 or something.
I love that.
I can't, because they don't use internal monologue usually, and it's like
Yeah.
characters have to
And he
say
seemed
more.
emo
or
enough
it's
to
just-
have a diary.
Can we talk about that though?
Which part?
Let's talk about that's a good transition to Robert Pattinson, either as Batman and as Bruce Wayne. So what I thought was really interesting is there's a fuck ton of Batman in this movie and almost no Bruce Wayne, which I thought was really interesting. I thought he was way more intimidating Batman than I thought he would be. I mean, I talked to Jonesy earlier today. I was like, I don't know how I feel about him. His voice is weird. His voice was relatively strong most of the time.
Yeah.
A couple parts he was a little, but it was still better than Christian Bale in my
God,
opinion.
yeah.
He also
That's
talks
such
the
a- that's
least,
such a
it seemed
low-ass
like, out of all
bar.
the
He
Batman.
talked a good amount though. He I feel like he had most range, like emotions while donning the cowl of anyone that I've seen in the movies.
Certainly being afraid.
That was so cool. And the
Yeah.
conversation with Alfred about fear.
Yeah.
Or,
It's like, I never
or
wanted to
just
feel
his
that
vague
again.
disrespect for Alfred. Like he came across.
You're not my father.
just like a little bitch. Like, he came across like a... Yeah, I could see we call Batman sulky and mopey and not able to get over his parents when he's in his 40s. This is totally what he would be like in his late 20s. Like, just very glib about everything and not being appreciative of the person who probably raised him and just, not showering with his hair stuck to his face. He looks like he stinks.
Oh, yeah, he does. You can smell him. You could smell him off the screen.
Hair.
Yeah.
Don't go to like a freaking 4D experience because they probably add smell to like all the scenes.
He's definitely a
when he says
billionaire
take a shower, you get like
with jars of, he has jars of pee somewhere in that fucking mansion.
They're spraying jars of pee in the theater.
That's a joke from Dark Knight Rises.
Is it?
Where he's like, we haven't seen Wayne in like 8 years. He's probably up there with mason jars of urine.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought you were going to say Batman.
Scott Mendelson says that part.
But his Bruce Wayne was also interesting. That guy had like a perpetual 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah.
And was just, he was like just trauma just like in his pores.
Yeah.
Like when the mayor talks to him about doing more for the city, he's like...
Yeah. What I like about that is...
So I guess I should say I found him more unsettling, but not badly performed.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't call him a bad Bruce Wayne. It's just I don't like him because I don't want to be around him.
He's like basically if we were seeing like on like freaking he would pop up in TMZ like he's that fucking weirdo billionaire walking around being creepy again. That's who he would be.
Smelly guy.
I think
he'll grow into
the thing. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
He'll learn his other side, like the smarmy, right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's the idea of him having to put on that persona. He is not that person yet. And so I think it's interesting people say they don't like his Bruce Wayne. I feel like, just like Nick said, like he's going to grow into that more recognizable form.
We're going to have Real probably pull him out of his shell if there's a future movie.
Ra's al Ghul?
Real,
Who's Real?
the mayor-elect.
Oh.
Because she wanted him to be more, whatever, social, and he'll bring her out, or she'll bring him out.
That's why he learned
into more social events and do more things and
become
that.
Too.
No, she wasn't fully assassinated. She's not going to die between movies.
Yeah, she's not dead.
We saw her, remember?
Yeah, I know. I said between movies.
I'm pretty sure that is what's going to propel him to become commissioner, right? You saved my life. Yeah, you're definitely going to be police commissioner. The name of the officer that we could not remember, Renee Montoya.
Montoya.
That's what I'm trying to think of.
Oh, right.
So we did not get that character in The Dark Knight.
I thought we would get Bullock.
I confused her with the dirty cop in The Dark Knight.
Yeah, and that's how I knew it wasn't her. I think it was an allusion to her, but she's not a dirty cop. She is
She was in Birds of
incredibly
Prey.
altruistic throughout every medium that I've seen.
This is making me want to go back and watch the animated series
It's
at the beginning.
fantastic!
It is.
Which animated series? Oh, Batman animated series? Yeah.
So, if you're curious, the episode that we're talking about, season 1, episode 13.
I think I'm going to do it straight through.
She's like, don't give me a title. I'm just going to watch it all.
I'm going to catch it when I get to it.
It's really good. I got really strong Watchmen vibes from the beginning of this movie.
Rorschach, yeah.
Like, he's talking about the city, he's talking about all this stuff, and you don't really see him. And I think he was dressed in street clothes.
Yeah, and
right?
he was walking around.
So that's very much like the sign, the end is nigh, from Watchmen.
I definitely got the Watchmen vibes, too.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is almost more Rorschach than Batman.
Yes, 100%.
My city burns.
I also got a really fun, I couldn't tell if this was supposed to be deliberate, but a good, the bad, and the ugly moment.
Oh, tell me. I don't even know what you're referring to.
When they had Penguin tied up, and he's like, "Hey, let me out of here!" He's like, "You dirty sons of bitches!" He says something like that, and that's what. Yeah, so that's what Eli Wallach says to Blonde when he leaves. He's like, "You gotta let me go." He's like, "You son of a bitch!" And he said, "You're just a son of a," and then it cuts off. But Gordon, Batman, and Penguin are good, bad, and ugly. Oh. At least in my brain.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, good.
Gordon is good.
Oh, I guess Batman's the ugly?
No.
I think
Batman's bad.
Batman's bad?
Well, like, he breaks some rules. He's ready to kill people in that movie.
But he didn't, though.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
There's a way.
Yeah.
Gordon is definitely the good, though.
Yeah.
No one's disagreeing there.
And Penguin is ugly.
But I feel like Penguin has to be the ugly
is.
because that's Eli Wallach's line.
Fair. But I think...
Do you see award nominations for his makeup?
Oh, yes.
Fantastic.
Please.
Like,
you cannot see Colin Farrell in, like, I stared at his eyes. I tried to find some piece of Colin Farrell in that face.
his voice.
Or his voice.
Nothing.
That's not him.
It's literally just his eyes. Like, literally, if you just look at his eyes.
I still couldn't see it.
I couldn't see it.
Look
I
at his
could not.
eyes.
I couldn't find an
And if
accent.
you're like me, if you've seen In Bruges enough, you're just like, yes.
He never even wavered an accent. Like, I even look for accent buckles. Because everybody who's not, that American accent is so, especially like niche American accents like Boston, criminal,
Right.
New York, whatever. They're so hard to keep up. He never buckled. Just, it was, his
That
performance was
interrogation
amazing.
scene with him, Gordon, and Batman
Was very
like,
funny.
was so like it's funny. It was good. Like he's berating them. He's talking like you said. No
You're embarrassed for
breaking
them,
accent.
kind of, because they got the wrong person.
Yeah.
Oh, can we talk about the fact that he killed like 15 people on the highway?
Yeah.
Dude.
I never
That
arrested
was
him
so chaotic.
on the screen. At
It
least.
was gorgeous and really like, oh, I felt it in my gut. Like when the explosion, you saw how he, like you said, a quick time event,
Yeah.
when he like popped over the ramp. But like,
I was so focused on the other cars and trying to figure out, are they really, how far
but like,
into
can we,
the highway are they?
but like, can we ignore the fact that like literally,
Oh, yeah, they-
at
their
least
people are dead.
at
20
least
people
5
died.
people died.
It doesn't, you don't have to go that fast to die in a car accident
Right.
or to flip a car. Somebody's dead.
But we're just gonna let him
Look
go.
good, though.
We're just gonna. Oh, you didn't kill the people. You didn't kill the 2 people. You killed the 15 people over here.
Just
we'll
trying
let
to
you go.
commute on.
We'll let you go. No big deal.
I mean,
From
what did
Gotham
he do? He braked
University.
hard.
He
They went up the wrong way, up the ramp.
no, he rammed him. He rammed the car. From
No, he hit the brake. The truck hit him,
Oh.
and then
He
spun out
hit
of
the brake
control.
while he was going up the wrong way up the interstate.
I
No,
think
that was later.
No,
when
he was
was
going the right
way.
He was going the
Oh.
right way.
See, he was doing the right thing.
Okay.
Just a bad driver.
He turned around.
And he was sober,
So
probably.
My mistake, probably.
You know, knowing Penguin,
No, he wasn't
he's
on that
probably,
adrenaline
he's
shit.
probably gonna
Shut
find
up.
who that
He's a
trucking
pusher,
company
not
is,
user.
and he's gonna sue them for rear-ending him.
Here's a question.
Sue Wayne
This
Enterprises.
was one thing that didn't make any
Is that
sense.
what it
to me.
was?
No.
So we got a scene with the DA. One of the scenes that's been in almost every trailer.
The Southern one
DA
guy?
is
Kiefer Sutherland? Is that
No, the Skarsgård.
Kiefer Sutherland's in this movie? Did I
No.
miss him?
That wasn't Kiefer Sutherland?
No,
No.
Skarsgård.
yeah,
It's one of the
The
Skarsgårds.
DA?
Yeah.
Oh,
The one who had the bomb around his
yeah,
neck.
Yeah.
Skarsgård.
It's not Kiefer at all.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't hear one. Damn it, Chloe.
Sorry.
So
My
the
mistake.
thing that was weird to me about that scene, so if you've seen the trailer, you get a scene where the DA drives into the mayor's funeral, and I was like, that bomb is going off. Why is Batman just standing in front of him?
And why did his face not implode?
Yeah.
He didn't have anything on his face.
If it was strong enough to blow him backwards, he should have. It should have fucked him up.
That's the other scene you were talking about that he should have died in, right? There was that
Yeah.
one where he jumped off the building and slammed into the bridge, and the
I
other
didn't
one
think
was
of the other one,
explosion.
actually. The other one I just missed as, like
Movie.
yeah,
movie.
movie. The other one stood
Plots.
out more because it was like, it's the
Movie
least realistic
He's not Batman.
hit. Even, yeah, the bomb didn't bother me as much as him. His parachute coming out, catching him, having him bang against the
Yeah.
fucking bus, and then just fly like 3 blocks and stand up. The shotgun did more damage to him at the end than that.
Yeah. Oh, and I have a question about that. So,
Yeah.
you all think not Venom, right? I didn't talk to you.
You
about
should
this.
probably specify what you're talking about when you say that.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Okay. I don't know.
My first
I don't know
thought
enough
was
about.
Venom,
I don't
but
know
I'm
enough
like,
about the comics to.
So there's a scene in the movie where he is fighting lots of henchmen at the end, and the last henchman manages to shoot him in the chest with a double-barrel
he was
shotgun.
attacking Catwoman.
And he's on the ground, he can't get up, and I swear to God, I knew Catwoman was about to get shot, stabbed, something. But that didn't happen. What did happen was the henchman grabbed her, pulled her off, and was attacking her. Batman couldn't get up. And he pulls some substance from his belt, stabs himself on the leg with it, and like roid rages out on this henchman to the point where Gordon has to come stop him and all this other stuff. And so for me, in the Batman universe, that is usually some form of Venom, and it doesn't sound like anybody else thought so, right?
Well, I thought that at first, but I was like, if Nolan didn't use it, Reeves was going to use it, because Reeves is even more realistic than Nolan's movies.
How many movies has Reeves done that are realistic?
No, I'm talking about his Batman universe. This is definitely the most down, like the most realistic Batman movie, even with its
Is it?
fantastical elements.
I don't know if I'd agree with
more
that.
than
That's the
the
most realistic Batman movie?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd agree with that.
Which one's more realistic than this? The Nolan ones are not.
I think The Dark Knight is more
You can just-
realistic.
Well, like in this one, they even like he has
Like,
to, he has to wear a flying suit to fly. He doesn't have to just go. Ooh,
I can
ooh,
imagine
ooh.
living in the Dark Knight world. I can't imagine living in this
Well, that's a
world.
stylistic choice, I would say,
Yeah,
more than.
hence not realistic, not grounded. It's stylistic.
But I'm talking about like even the action is more grounded and like
I feel like
fear of
if
falling.
Christian Bale Batman had got hit with a bomb right to the face, close range, on top of a guy,
That's true.
he walked away from that movie limping and fucked up.
Yep.
So I don't
After
feel
being
like,
Batman for a year.
yeah.
It's true. That's
So-
the most realistic part. 2
Him
years
having
he's
his
hobbling
cane,
like an old
his
man.
cane kicked out from under him.
Still just I don't know. Reeves has talked about using I want to say Captain Cold, Mr. Freeze, but he's like I'm thinking of a really like grounded way to use him or something like that.
Yeah, which I could see
Right.
being done
Yeah.
well. Like
But I
that
don't-
character
Like
is
the cartoon
conducive to
did
that.
it.
We
I
talked
guess-
about this last week, right, Jonesy?
Yeah, we did.
I guess Venom
The
could be
cartoon?
like
Yeah, like
a
based
drug.
on sort of like the
this
really.
is another like Danny. Why haven't you watched this cartoon yet?
He keeps saying he's going.
Yeah, we
to
keep talking about. So we brought up Heart of Ice, which is this episode of
Won
the
an
animated
Emmy?
series. Yes, brought that up too.
Actually gave him a backstory.
Daytime Emmy.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. In a cursory look, it seems like other people are speculating that it could be or couldn't be.
Victor
Venom.
Zsasz seems more in tune with, if he's going to keep with this David Fincher vibe, Victor Zsasz is the only person I can think of off the
Ooh,
top who
that
really
would be
fits
really
the,
cool.
the really grotesque violence of a serial killer who would fit in
He
there.
was interesting in Birds of Prey. He was weird.
He was weird.
He was a weird.
I
He's
was
also
I
in
really
Nolan's
that one.
film.
What's that?
I don't really think of that one. I was thinking of the comic one with the self-harm and just
Yeah.
the straight murder.
Yeah. So,
Excuse me.
yeah, some people are speculating that it could be, couldn't be. So
I mean, it could
at
be
least
something
it's out there.
like it's a
I just hope
drug.
it's not a Joker. We already have.
Who?
5
Another
Jokers.
Joker.
We
Yeah,
have 5
you know,
So-
Jokers.
It was
the
the
fucking
Joker.
So let's talk
Jokers.
about that. So we get a reveal at the end. It's Barry Keoghan having a conversation with Paul Dano's Riddler in Arkham after the Batman has saved several people, a substantial number of people. There was a lot of speculation a little while ago about who Barry Keoghan was playing. No one knew. And there was a lot of speculation that it was, in fact, the Joker. I'm fairly certain, after what we saw, that
Yeah.
that is who he was
He
playing.
even had
He made
scars.
so many humor references.
Yeah.
Like
He
his-
even said the clown.
Yeah,
It's like you go
like-
from the top to a clown. And you kind of see his face, and his face
and the
is
laugh,
scarred.
and he had a very high-pitched, menacing
Paul
He
laugh.
Dano
looks-
laughed funnier than him.
Not to bring up Gotham, but he had
Fuck
very much.
He did look like
Gotham,
Joker.
like the final Gotham Joker that they
Yeah.
ended up with. He looked kind of like that with his like sort of puffy and swollen face. Look like just
Yeah.
like very prosthetic heavy look to his face.
Wasn't he
Does the
not
Gotham
actually?
Joker not have paint?
I'll
Like
show
clown
you.
paint?
I'll show you a picture in a second. Yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
they say he was not actually the Joker?
They were
They
like-
said he's proto Joker.
Proto Joker.
Yeah.
So
So like
just like Joaquin.
I think the reason why it looks that way is because I think he cut his face off in Gotham, right?
there's been a lot. It's
And that's
way
from New
convoluted.
52.
Yes. So
Way
there's a main
convoluted.
New 52 arc where the Joker cuts off his own face, and I think they lifted some of that and put it in that, and so that's why it looks very prosthetic heavy.
I remember seeing it and being like, "That's terrible."
That doesn't look good at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, very prosthetic heavy. I'm showing pictures of the Gotham Joker.
But maybe they'll be able to do something better with that, just like they did with
That's such a
Farrell.
stupid picture.
Yeah.
They tried to do that.
I mean, that's kind of a nice thing, right? Like, we got to hear his voice, see glimpses of him, but we did not get a definitive look at who this person is. So between
so they
now
can
and then,
entirely skip it and decide to do something else.
And they
Maybe
could
no
also
one
say
ever
like,
wants the
"Hey, that's
Joker.
actually
I
Mr.
don't.
Freeze," instead, and not the Joker.
So let me
Bane.
hear it. So at the end of this movie, we get somebody that looks like the Joker. Tanya, who would you rather see other than the Joker?
Either Mr. Freeze or Victor Zsasz.
Okay. Jammer.
Why is that funny?
No, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at me. Calendar Man. Calendar Man.
we saw him in the
ketchup
movie
and
already.
mustard, the condiment king.
And Kite Man,
Calendar Man in as the next serial killer.
Egghead or whatever. No, I'm kidding. I would say a combination of Zaz and Hugo Strange.
Oh,
Him being like a psychiatrist and kind of
Ooh, Hugo
pointing.
Strange would be good. Yeah.
He was awesome in Gotham. He was one of the only parts I liked about Gotham.
Mm,
Was the guy, the doctor from Jurassic
He
Park.
talked
That
like
doesn't make it
this
good.
the whole time. I am Hugo Strange.
I don't know. I only saw a season and a half of that show, but
So, like, Marvel Doctor Strange?
No.
It's
what?
not overselling it to say that
Oh,
the fate of the universe
I wish. I wish it was like that.
hitherto.
no. But I've
unheard
always
of.
wanted to see a Hugo Strange on the big screen, and you have like one of my favorite comics is Prey, and he manipulates Scarecrow, that we've already seen Scarecrow used largely. I'd like to see some people we have seen Zaz twice in live action.
Have we seen Calendar Man? No, we have not.
Have we seen the Condiment King?
No,
we
well,
haven't.
I mean, I guess
Well,
if you
technically.
count Lego Batman, both of those were included.
Lego Batman.
What about you, Nick?
Oh, like I said, a combination of Zaz and Hugo
Okay.
Strange.
Otherwise
I'd say Scarecrow and Hugo Strange and
And the
kind of
woman
follow
with
prey.
The woman with the mask.
So definitely Hugo Strange is where you'd go
Yes,
next.
because in that comic, it's pretty great. He's so obsessed with Batman, he actually wears a bat suit in his own place.
Oh, no,
Hugo Strange. And
No, I
he,
was banging the table next to the microphone.
and he figures out who Batman is and stuff. And he thinks he's using the Scarecrow, but the Scarecrow ends up killing him and becoming the main villain.
Oh, I like it when that happens.
Because he thinks he's just, and he also brainwashes a guy into thinking he's like a soul. They can leave that part out. He like brainwashes a cop into thinking he's like a vigilante.
Okay.
I remember that in the cartoon, I think.
I think they use that in the cartoon.
So there are a couple things I know that we wanted to bring up.
What
That
do you wanna
I want to circle back on. First of all, the Batman name. Who Tanya, you thought it was sounding pretentious calling it the Batman, but you liked the fact.
I would say that.
Was it you?
No, I've always
No, you
wanted to
said
be called
that in the
that.
car. You said you thought it
I
made
said
more
it-
sense now that you've seen it.
One of you all brought up the title of it, calling it The Batman, and I said, now that I've seen the movie, I can see why they called it that, because it was actually on the clues for The
Yeah.
Batman.
For the
I don't
Batman.
remember
I
thinking
think
it
I
was
thought
a-
you said it was
I was
pretentious.
just commenting on hearing y'all
Yeah, but I
mention
just think that's interesting. I thought that was. It's not just called the Batman because that's the only Batman title we haven't
Yeah.
used yet. It actually, I feel like
they
it
linked
worked
it
in
to
the title.
the plot.
I didn't think about that because I've just always wanted that title.
It's a good
'cause
title.
It is like I referenced the line from Batman Beyond.
He's
where-
like the Bat.
yeah, it's the Batman. It makes him sound more mysterious.
And he never really does he
anyone
refer
say-
himself to that as
Does
that? at
anyone
any
say
time?
Batman?
No, just
They were-
only the Riddler. Only the Riddler calls him.
Yeah.
the
Oh
Batman.
yeah, that's right. Duh,
went
his
through
name's
that.
Hence
He
the
went
whole
through
thing
that-
we were just talking about a second ago.
He went through that entire movie looking for a rat with wings and never turned around and looked in the mirror.
Speaking of which, Rat with Wings. That's the next thing
Yeah.
on my list. Talk about Rat with Wings. Obviously, they talked
I
about.
can't believe we didn't think of that either. Oh, Bruce Wayne himself.
Oh,
Think
yeah.
that would be one that what the clue was for.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I said Rat with Wings, I was surprised that they like, oh yeah, Falcon, duh, and I was like, oh yeah, Bat, no shit.
Yeah.
But only the one that was actually it was actually Falcone, right?
Yeah.
That was the one. Even though there's like 3 or 2 red herrings, I guess. If we're the audience thinking the Batman, oh obviously it's the Batman.
I was thinking squirrel,
wrong.
but that's a rat with a tail.
And you're thinking about the other one, Penguin, which
Yeah.
I guess that was a stretch in retrospect. Then no one would call that a rat.
Penguins are shitty animals.
But no one. I mean, they do.
They're terrible.
They're necrophiliacs.
And they
Wow,
rape,
thank
they
you.
rape their young.
They what?
They rape their young. I'm
Do they really?
pretty sure.
Penguins?
I thought so.
I know. Penguin. What was it? There was a.
Jesus Christ.
I read. I heard something recently where
This took a dark turn.
there people were they were researching penguins in the Antarctic, and they literally like buried the research or hid it or did something because they didn't think people were ready to understand how fucked up
Oh
penguins
yeah, I
were.
heard that. I learned that on TikTok.
Was that TikTok?
I don't know.
I don't know. I
It
heard,
must be true.
Holy
It must
shit.
be true.
I heard it from friends who were more well read than I am.
Is that why there's no March of the Penguins too?
That's the reason why they got
the
canceled.
darker
The
side.
the penguins got canceled.
Removed from Disney.
Maybe they eat their young. They do something disgusting to their young.
But speaking of the penguin waddle is another thing.
That was-
Yeah, I already
funny.
mentioned it a little
Yeah.
bit.
Did we mention that
Yeah.
earlier? Okay.
I did tell you write down, so I wouldn't forget.
Okay. And then Catwoman's age. That's another thing that we want to talk
Oh,
about.
that was
What?
just a goofy thing I was saying for my own vanity. But then when we looked at John Turturro's age versus how old her mother would be, yeah, that is kind of notable.
John Turturro worked for me as the
Oh,
King
yeah.
Shark.
Yeah, I like
I
his
was
style.
surprised because I'm not
He
used
did
to
seem
him.
like a scary dude.
I'm not used to him as like a terrifying role because I always remember him for some reason from Quiz Show where he
Oh, I love
played
that movie.
Artie. Is that his name? Artie? I forget his character's name.
And
but
he was the guy licking the bowling ball in the Big Lebowski.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
of him from
Oh,
Jesus. I also
yeah.
think of him from Old
Jesus.
Brother.
Oh, they call him Jesus Quintana, but they so Jesus Quintana. I fucking hate that.
He had.
He says that like no one fucks with the Jesus.
yeah.
Yeah,
calls
he
himself
calls
that.
himself Jesus.
Yeah, but
What's
he's-
the matter?
Because he has
It's
a God
wrong,
complex.
it's
Because he has a
Jesus.
God complex. He thinks he's the god of bowling.
So yeah, there's
His
something.
name is Jesus Quintana.
There's something
it's a
particular.
pronunciation. Sorry.
Yes,
There's
it's a
something
pronunciation.
particularly terrifying about people who talk slowly, and he talks very slowly, and Riddler talks very slowly. And
Yeah.
they made a point of showing Riddler talking slowly when that guy had that bomb around his neck. He was not rushing to get through those.
That was such a great scene.
That was a very good scene.
That was a really good scene.
He wouldn't give up the rat.
Yeah.
So crazy.
There was another great moment.
Someone else will kill me. Oh, Falcone. Oh, yeah, Falcone.
Like, that was
Should've
great.
been
Because,
obvious.
like, for me, it was obviously, oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, we don't work for Falcone. I'm like, really? He's like, or Falcone doesn't work for us. We work for him. I'm like, oh, yeah, no shit. Like, duh. But it was just still a great...
You were so lost in the movie that
It still worked, though. Like, it still
Especially-
worked for me as a reveal.
Especially when you sell the movie on the Riddler. I mean, the Riddler is the overarching villain who, I mean, like, the ending is...
he's the big costumed villain.
Yeah,
He's
who,
been the mayor for 20 years.
who like, inspires...
But the real villain of Gotham wears a suit.
yeah.
Which I thought was interesting when they killed Falcone at or what I thought was the end. I was just like, interesting. He was the main villain. I was like, wait, no, Zodiac is still out. Riddler's still out.
Doing his creepy Joker videos, but now on, like, TikTok instead
Yeah,
of...
TikTok's
I
like, hey,
didn't expect
smash
this
that
video
like
to blow
button.
up.
Subscribe. Thanks, guys.
That was one of my
I
favorite parts.
appreciate your followers.
Is when he had the private video just for his followers.
And
He's
he
like,
was
hey
like-
guys,
he
this
was
might
like-
be the last time you see me.
He's like I like his body
It was
posture
so
really
different.
changed. He was
Yeah.
just like,
Then he did slip into the voice a little bit with the...
did he? Yeah. And there was also a weird thing where I noticed when he was talking and it may have been in the scene where he was doing the riddle with the guy thing around the guy's neck, where he started talking in a lisp. Did you guys catch that? Like a weird lisp that he had at one point. But then he didn't have a lisp later. Maybe I was just imagining the lisp.
Or funky audio. What's the symbolism of the right eye in a film? Because that was the side his glasses cracked on. I feel like
Oh.
And we kept seeing
Visuals-
he would, like, lean into
I don't
just
know.
one eye.
visual storytelling. I'm sure that wasn't by accident, but I
I
can't
know
remember.
that
He's
in
on
the
the right side
manga
of
One
justice.
Piece, that's where the treasure is.
Jesus.
In Skypiea.
It
don't
also
think
means
that's
something
where- Gotten into One Piece yet?
in
Or that might be the left eye. It's an eye.
Cowboy Bebop. It means something. One of his eyes is fake, and so that's I forget which one is real and which one is fake.
Yeah, I don't
But
remember
he sees
either.
the future with one and the past in another.
Well-
that's what he phrases it.
Some of the more other interesting things, the ending was very, like, he basically found a group of angry white guys that wanted to take down the establishment.
Yeah.
And a black mayor, and it was a little uncomfortable.
I mean, was it though? Given what we saw on January 6th,
That's what I'm saying. It was more uncomfortable because it has happened.
Yeah, and then you get to have Catwoman basically say that, right? Like,
Yeah.
these are the people.
Can I just tell you, it made me very uncomfortable how many... Sorry, I couldn't do it. So there's this reviewer online who was talking about how he didn't like the fact that there were more good black people than white people in this movie, which is so fucked up and weird.
When people say the quiet part out loud and they don't actually check their biases for... It's common for black people specifically, I'm not going to say BIPOC, I'm going to say black people, to be the villains in movies. Like, I remember there was a conversation about... what's that Stephen King adaptation that Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey were in?
The
Dark Tower.
Oh, yeah.
They were upset that he was the
Oh,
head
that he was
hero,
the hero.
but they said, how come he can't be the man in black? So the man in black in the book isn't black. Why are you okay with the black guy being a villain?
Yeah.
That movie was just bad. I wish it was good.
Well, that's beside
Missing
beside
the
the
point.
point.
I also wanted...
So, but you know what? This is a meta part of the conversation because the people who say this kind of stuff deliberately miss the point. So thank you for that illustration, Nick.
We love you, Nick.
I didn't need
What?
you.
I wish there were sequels with Idris Elba in them.
No, you don't have to like the movie. That's not
You
the
don't
point of the
have to like
conversation.
but I wanted to. No.
Oh God, are you crying
had
because
some
the
final
angry
points.
black lady raised her voice at you?
The other thing, and this, I've only seen this in the Joker, but in the comics it's always there. In the movies they've ignored it. That Thomas Wayne is not a great guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't think it's
Like
ignored. I think that it is an evolving version of who he is, right?
Yeah.
So up until
He's a shitheel in the Joker too.
No, that's what I'm
Right.
saying. The Joker's the
Yeah.
first time he did it in live action, I feel.
live,
But he was also a shitheel in the. Are we talking about the animated films?
No.
During that Flashpoint?
I was saying live action.
When he was in Flashpoint, he wasn't really a nice guy either.
But that's a whole different universe. Like, because
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
he was
comics
fucking
that these are
breaking
based
heads,
on, he
cracking
does
heads,
stitch up.
skulls.
I don't think he's a
Tony.
bad person, though, right? Like
He's not
hear me
Falcone
out.
or Maroni.
Hear me out. He's not corrupt, and so he owns a casino, and his Batman is a little bit more violent than
A little more.
quote unquote our Batman. But I think in what Nick is talking about is the way they're starting to portray Thomas Wayne is that he's just corrupt, that he is more involved in the seedier.
He's
part
not
of
like
Gotham.
the
Alfred-
beacon of light that he is in the Dark Knight trilogy.
But I feel like
He's
Alfred
too
made a
good
point
in
of
those
saying he
movies.
was a person who was in his. No, that was the other guy. Wait.
No, Alfred did.
Oh, yeah,
He's
but
like,
he
he's a
was-
good
He
person
was
who made a
desperate and he
mistake.
reached out to a ship. So I feel like that's
So-
basically in line with the Thomas Wayne from the.
I think what they did was they set it up to look like what we think is the evolving image of Thomas Wayne, and then they pulled it back.
A good but flawed image.
Yeah.
So like, if
He's
you
really
played,
bad in
did you
a
guys
Joker.
ever play the
Oh,
Telltale
yeah, Joker,
Batman? Same
Yeah.
thing. So the same kind of storyline, like he was just in bed with the mob, and I'm surprised that they didn't. Yeah, they definitely seemed to pull it back, and I'm curious how much of what
We already saw that in Joker a bit, right?
No, but Joker's like a
I know,
giant.
I
Like
know that, but I mean,
it's
like,
a very different. Like this is actually really close to the comics. In the comics, there is a scene where he stitches up Falcone. And then Bruce is looking down, like literally from the staircase, just as they describe it in the movie.
I don't know,
but
just for
usually
me,
it's done
mentally,
done.
those 3 Thomas Waynes, they all seem like a rich guy who uses his power to meet his needs when he wants to. He's not necessarily bad, but he doesn't give a shit
this
about your
point,
opinion of
though-
his morality. Like, none of those people seem fundamentally corrupt. They just seem like, when you get to have a certain level of power, peasant morality doesn't impact you, and it doesn't matter.
But by this point, seeing other versions, I hate the Batman Begins version where he's like the nicest person in the world. Where he's like, we're building this all. I don't know. It's like he's
why
too.
do we fall, Bruce?
I do love that line.
Bring ourselves back up. He's very much just like,
No, but even like when they're on the train, he's like, we built this for the city, and like we're gonna do this and this, and there'll be a beacon of
And he
hope.
was like, "Don't you run the company?" He's like, "Well, I leave that to more interested people."
Yeah, and-
like
yeah.
he
Also,
wants
white
more
savior
interested.
Thomas Wayne.
it's like
is
I'm
interesting
too
He's
hire.
Dr.
I'm too
Thomas
good to
Wayne.
deal with business.
because I'm a doctor.
Yeah, he's doctor. That's his, he has that line. He's like, "Don't you run the company, Dad?"
Yeah.
or something.
I thought that was kind of interesting. They did not call him Dr. Wayne.
No.
Every
I've never heard
iteration
him
of
call
him,
him Doc. Oh,
yeah,
really?
every iteration of that character I've ever known.
Did
has
they call
been
him
a
Dr. Wayne in the Dark Knight trilogy?
No. Oh, they did?
Did they?
Why would he set his arm and then take him to the hospital?
I mean, he is a doctor in every
Yeah,
version.
but they don't call
I've
him
never heard him
Dr.
called
Wayne.
Dr. Wayne.
I think it
so
seems
weird.
interesting that there was not even a reference to him being a doctor in this.
There
There was.
He
He
was
stitched
stitching
up-
up Falcone.
That's how he bought him, sort of. Or that's how he had him in his pocket. He
Remember
was
when
shot.
he
He
went,
didn't
when
go
he
to the
went to the
hospital.
funeral? Were you in the bathroom when he went to the funeral?
Yes.
Oh,
So when he went to the funeral,
That's when he recognizes Bruce.
he recognizes Bruce and goes up to him. He's like, I still remember when your dad stitched me up.
Ah.
And
I
I
saw
saw
you
right
on the
here.
staircase.
I
It's
saw
exactly
you.
the
fuck.
He's like, and
Totally
you think
missed
that
that.
didn't mean anything, but it really did. Like, it was,
So I thought that was a reference to, because I think that's either in the Telltale games or something else. That has happened in other mediums, so I thought that's.
I've
what you
seen this
meant.
straight from one of the comics.
Yeah.
Just as how they describe it, where Bruce Wayne's looking down from the
Right.
staircase, and Falcone like looks straight at
Interesting.
Bruce Wayne as a kid.
he's just like this. He's just
That would
staring.
Get your ass upstairs.
No, but he would be being operated on.
He's staring at Bruce Wayne, not even looking at the stitches.
No, Falcone's the one.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
He's getting stitched up, not stitching. Thomas is stitching.
Oh, you're right.
Everybody's staring at Bruce on this.
Look, you understand that our audience couldn't see what he was illustrating, so it kind of didn't matter.
No, but like I just imagine now Thomas Wayne's staring up at him, and Falcone's like looking at
Also
him too.
staring at him in admiration. Is there anything else that you guys want to get out before we move on to one? I think I have a couple more questions for you all.
I'm sure that I could talk about this forever.
Yeah, we brought it
But-
up for a
so
while.
I'm
Yeah,
good.
I'm
That's what
good
I'm
for
trying.
now, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I do like that he didn't. That he thought he solved all the riddles. But
Oh,
he
yeah.
missed the one. In fact, the other cop had to be the
I
one who's
wonder-
like, "Oh, that's a tool for picking up carpet."
Yeah.
Can we go
It's a
back
Tucker.
and like see the rest of it? Like, can we solve the rest of it ourselves without getting more information from the story? Because he's like, I thought you were smarter than this. Like, you knew this other stuff part of my fate. Like,
You mean
plan.
if we watched it again, would we see the thing that he missed?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
I think so.
If it's a good David Fincher film, we will.
Yeah, I'm curious because actually that's one thing I liked about it. Like we mentioned before about its convoluted nature. Like I think it was, as Tanya said, convoluted enough without being too convoluted. It was enough. It was enough to feel like where I missed enough to like go back, and I feel like I can get most of it again on like just a second viewing.
Yeah.
And
But I
just
don't think
sweep
this
up
is going
the
to be a
scraps.
prestige situation where it's a totally different movie that
No.
completely is
Or
in your
Fight
face
Club.
and makes sense.
I don't think so. No,
Okay.
this is no 7.
It's very close. It's closer
think-
to 7 than I'd say other Batman movies.
Let's
last
call it
one-
6.5.
I will say really quick, one last thing though, as far as me, like I was worried going into this because from the trailers for me, I'm like, it kind of just feels like it's retreading like the Nolan's
Yeah.
feel.
There's
this
a lot of
this
them
did not
all
feel like that at all.
By the end of it, I thought they were going to kill him.
Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
I
was
would
weird.
not have been
That
surprised,
was
yeah.
a weird feeling. Like I thought, this feels like a standalone. Like it's coming to some conclusion.
Where
and
he
he's
cut
about to die.
the
I mean, a couple of times, right? When he gets shot, when he jumps off and cuts the
Something he
electricity.
said made me think he was
Well, he
foreshadowing
says like
his own-
goodbye. Like he says like, oh, and at one point he's like, maybe Batman will have to
Yeah,
die.
like
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, are they gonna do it? No.
No.
They've already announced the trilogy. I hope they do it at the end though. I had that conversation before the movie. I want Batman to like,
Why?
because I mean he's making sacrifices, but I don't know. Since we've seen
Because
this
you think they're
recently,
going to make that one standalone Batman where he's just going to die?
I'd like to see it sometime. Otherwise,
It's
I'll
not
never
gonna
see
happen.
it.
It'll never happen.
Snyder wouldn't even have done it.
Also, the last thing I think I'll say, I really enjoyed this version of Catwoman. It was,
Yeah.
I was really curious how Zoe Kravitz would do in the role, and she had a bigger part than I
Huge
even
part.
thought she would. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like-
she was like
Well, or
she was pushing the B plot.
I was gonna say to the point of being a co-lead.
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
I was surprised because even Michelle Pfeiffer did not stand in that like
Or Anne Hathaway.
that
She
close.
was more capable in her fight scenes to the point that I wanted to ask, how long have you been Catwoman?
Right.
Because you're not getting your ass handed to you nearly as much as the titular character is.
Right.
I think they wrote her well. I think they wrote that character well, and they made it subtle enough. Because I don't know Zoe Kravitz to be that strong of an actress. Like I don't know that she has range or anything like that. But I think they wrote this character to her kind of like how people tailor Keanu Reeves
Reeves, yeah.
parts.
And you
I think
made
it's
you
that
made a
kind of
point
situation.
earlier that like you didn't care about her friend, but I cared
her
that she
motivation.
cared.
Yeah, she definitely displayed I care, and I
I
believed
did
it.
find it surprising that Batman knew who she was before like she even put on the suit. Where he's like watching her undress because he follows them.
Oh yeah,
It's funny because
I
when
know.
we were watching
There's,
that
like,
scene
no-
where he was like, "How are they going to make this not creepy?"
And
Like
they're not even
they-
gonna try. They're not gonna try not make it creepy.
Well, first
Yeah.
I thought it was the Riddler, which I think was the intention because the beginning of the movie opens with the binoculars.
Well, we knew
going
it wasn't
around.
the Riddler because we saw his eyeshadow
Yeah.
or whatever. His, like,
Oh
his-
yeah.
His
Well,
emo
I think we
eyeshadow.
first saw
Which hold
the
on,
binoculars, and then we saw.
I've talked
his
about
face.
this before. I love the fact that they gave him the eyeshadow because like it's not just
Yeah.
like, hey, my eyes are normal. I put on the cowl and then for some reason
can't
it's
see.
black.
Like Batman Returns,
Around my
especially,
eyes.
like he rips off his.
It's
you
just
could-
him.
Yeah, and it's just he's clean
Yeah.
underneath.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting. Like you said, they did not try to make that not creepy to the point where I think in the next scene he's talking about what he saw
He
in
was
the
so
apartment.
creepy.
And I was like, you're not even gonna like.
Definitely not Playboy Bruce Wayne.
No.
That's not where we're getting.
he was
No.
just like socially
Not yet.
awkward. I haven't talked with the girl in like a year or two.
He's like, yeah, that
Creepy.
thing I saw. Let's go talk to her in your apartment,
Yeah, my
right?
cats.
Where I just saw you all. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I saw you undressing. You need new underwear, by the way. There's like holes in that.
Does your landlord know you have that many cats? I own this building and
like-
only allows 2.
I counted 17.
And
Unless
yeah,
I missed one, which I don't think I did because
Smells
I was looking a long time.
Cat piss smells worse
I
than I
can't.
do.
I can't.
not
I-
when your cat pisses on all your clothes and then you wear them.
And then the last thing I'll say is it is surprising to me how many scenes they showed in the trailer that still worked for me in the movie. I sometimes find that when I'm watching trailers, seeing them in context, I will lose something and not care as much and not enjoy them as much. But I was really excited when we got to the scene where the penguin got his car flipped. I was like, we're gonna get to see what happens next, because every trailer ends with him knocking over the penguin's
Yeah.
car and then like walking up and then the music blares and then it stops. And I was like, I can't wait to
He
see what
nails
happens.
and
Like
looks
we
in.
finally.
That's funny. I was expecting him to smile. He almost smiled.
Yeah, when he was
when he
like-
looked down, like upside down, I was just like, please smile, and it
He
was like
stood there for a long
almost,
time.
but didn't quite happen.
That was a very long like. What are you doing? You didn't say anything. What's going on? So I enjoyed that. That was funny.
Hey there, gorgeous.
Oh, can I say a thing that I heard from a review that I never noticed before?
Sure.
Because I want to know if you all noticed it. Every Batman movie has him crashing through glass. At some point, he has to crash through like a
Yeah.
glass.
That's important.
I never.
Yes.
Every episode does donkey.
Speaking of which, so
the most graceless Batman ever. Continue.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I love it. Yeah.
I still think this. I'm curious if you all think. I'll play the sound for you all later. I could. Swear
Oh, that
was,
scream.
That was Kim Basinger's scream.
Oh, yeah, you
that they
mentioned that.
played.
I think so. I recognized it.
Explain.
She's the new Wilhelm.
So there is
The Batman franchise.
Was it just a scream, not the whole voice though, right? Not the
No,
whole
the
not
scream
the
at
whole
the
voice,
very
just
end of the
scream.
video.
So Catwoman's friend that gets killed, they play her screaming through some audio recording. It sounds very much like Kim Basinger's scream from Batman '89, and I think it's when he crashes through the glass. I might be wrong.
Oh, that's why you thought of it.
Yeah, that's what made me think. That's what cued my brain to think.
Oh, it crashed through the glass in the '89 Batman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they do it twice. I mean, they play the end of the file twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So each time I'm like, that scream
Sounds
just
so familiar.
Sounds familiar and different than the other yelling that happens right before the scream.
So I want to ask you all something. Do you all have anything else to say about the movie itself?
I'm surprised I had that much to say.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that how much I liked it, and I really want to revisit it again because I was like really sleepy going into it, and I was really worried that it was going to feel too much of a retread in terms of style and tone to the Nolan movies, and
Did
it
you
wasn't.
violently fall asleep to it like I did the first 15 minutes?
You know, there was actually a part where I was like, I could close my eyes and it would be okay, but then I was like, no, I'm not going to, and I don't regret it. I was more awake at the end than I was at the beginning. Like the movie kept my attention.
The first 15 minutes were so scary.
Especially because it's
like
long.
referenced.
Yeah,
I thought it earned the length. And
I think it could have been 15 minutes shorter, but it was good enough.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. That's all I said.
It's not like Snyder's, which is bigger, longer, and uncut.
I still haven't finished it.
As Nick alluded to, they've already had talks about a sequel. Matt Reeves is already thinking about a sequel.
I think they've already said trilogy, haven't they? They've already committed that far, not to be like, well,
why
see what
would
the
I
next
do
one
that
does.
when I can make a sequel? You remember that? From Free Guy, Taika Waititi's.
I don't think I
watch
enjoyed
Free
that
Guy,
movie
Tanya?
as much as
Oh, you
you.
should watch it.
I loved
It's
it, too.
adorable. It's really fun.
What's like a number one thing that you all would want to see from a sequel? Let's start, Tanya.
Come back to me.
Nick.
Come back to me also. Let Jammer go first.
What the
Jammer.
I mean, to be fair, it's kind of a bombshell question. The
Is
number
it?
one thing you'd want to see from
I know
a
what I
sequel.
don't want.
Joker.
I don't want
Okay, there are
Joker
two
either.
things that I don't want, but I skipped my turn, so
I mean,
sorry.
I want to see another mystery. Continue the detective aspect of Batman and make it. It's impossible to do this. Make it a villain, like a murder or something. We do not know who the villain is until the very end.
They couldn't sell that.
I don't know. They could. Maybe
Warner Brothers would not be
Well, they
like-
could have other villains scattered throughout, but like, if we
I
don't know
know
who the main villain is, that would be cool.
I know this is following Nolan's thing. I know what I want to see the most. I want to see Harvey Dent become DA. He's still one of my favorite characters. Don't even do Two-Face and save Two-Face for the last movie. Like, don't rush it in one movie. Like, he's DA, now he's Two-Face.
And hire Billy D. Williams.
Oh, wouldn't that be funny?
That would be awesome.
Be a little old.
Like as.
Oh,
Dent?
sorry, he can't be a DA because he's too old?
Actually, he could be the DA, not the assistant DA.
Yeah.
Like the actual in court, the trial attorneys are younger.
He's
head
not
guy is
old. He's
usually
like 60.
He's in his 80s.
Yeah.
Fuck, how old is... Hey, Google. How old is Billy D. Williams?
Billy D. Williams is 84 years old.
Holy
Whoa,
shit,
yeah.
he is old.
He's
Never
old.
mind.
He just looks
He's
good.
retired.
yeah.
He's retired.
And they do draw him. Have you heard of the comic? It's the sequel to Batman 89.
Yeah, they did. Hire Donald Glover to play Billy D. Williams as...
Just give me another great actor as Harvey Dent. That's what I want more than anything. Is Harvey Dent, but not Two-Face yet.
Okay.
What about you?
What do
I
I
believe
want?
in Harvey Dent.
I want a better version of Ra's al Ghul.
Roz? Is it Roz or Raish?
It goes back and forth.
Cartoon says Raish. They said Roz in the movie.
Yeah, I
How's
say
it
the,
spelled?
I say it the Nolan way.
R-A-apostrophe-S.
Isn't there an H in there somewhere too?
I'm
So they pronounce it.
R-A-apostrophe-S.
They remember it better than me, so they pronounce it the '90s animated series when I pronounced it the Nolan
What
way.
nationality is it from? Maybe we should find somebody with that
Remember,
name and
like,
ask.
S's and H's are not good in TV and
Middle
media?
Eastern.
Because, like, Ahsoka, people call her Ashoka. I don't know why.
It's because the H is there.
But they say her name on TV.
I hear what you're saying, but sometimes I see the letters flipped in my head. I don't know
Same.
why.
And I had never watched her.
I have said her name correctly, but when we have podcasted, I have definitely said it incorrectly.
The only reason I said it incorrectly is I hadn't seen anything with her in it until.
So what
That
I don't
series.
want, I was about to misspeak and say that the lovely thing about the 90s serial killer movies is that they didn't have sequels, but Silence of the Lambs had a ton of
Red
low-quality
Dragon?
sequels. Yeah.
But the TV series was pretty good. The Hannibal
Hannibal.
with
Yeah,
Oh,
I did
Mads
hear that.
Mikkelsen.
That
I
was
can
Mads
forget.
Mikkelsen.
I just saw
I know. I was trying to remember his name. I was like, what the fuck's his name again?
Fucking yeah. But now that I'm thinking about it, besides not wanting the Joker and not wanting an identical, 7
Yeah.
vibe film, I think they should take it the Spider-Man route, which is that all that time we were watching the first Spider-Man and the second Spider-Man, we thought he had his origin story in the first movie, but he didn't get his true origin until the end of it. So he shouldn't get his shit together until the very last movie. He should still be freaking out when he jumps off of things.
So what it sounds
looking
like,
slummy.
it sounds like you want Alfred to actually die at the end of it. That's
I thought that was going to be the Aunt May moment.
He's going to wear pearls.
I thought he was dead.
Alfred's wearing pearls in the next movie.
I was so upset before it actually even happened.
Yeah.
I was like,
I know. I literally did too because I was like, I covered my
why
face
did you
because
think Bruce Wayne would open?
Yeah, I
Well, so that is because he opens his mail. Like that's
No, your
that's what
butler
he does.
opens your mail.
Yeah.
I think that is an incredible credit to this movie. The fact that we thought Batman might die, we thought Alfred might die.
Yeah, I don't remember the
They
last movie.
really-
I thought something like that.
Yeah, it was so harrowing, some of the situations they put these people in, and I don't know, it's really weird.
I think it's a credit to DC in general because they do crazy things with all their characters these days to where they could just kill anyone at any point in any of their different versions of the characters.
And their best movies are the crazy
like
shit.
the Harley Quinn, everyone fucking dies in that one, or a lot of people die in that one. You have like
The
other
Suicide
like
Squad.
Peacemaker, a lot of people die in that one. Like they're basically nothing is off limits. They freaking
feel
killed
like Batman's
Black
different.
Mask and Birds of
I
Prey.
think Batman's
Yeah, that was great.
But like they killed some many characters to the point where it's like that's the reason why is because like well if they don't kill or they can kill them off here and use them in a different
So I disagree.
version.
So for me, it wasn't DC. It was this movie. I think that Batman generally is regarded as sacred by Warner Brothers, and so what they did in this movie was the stuff that made me think he might, or those characters might actually, like Catwoman, Alfred, Batman. All of them felt like fair game at different points in this movie. I am shocked.
I didn't think Catwoman was going to die at any point.
When she is sitting on top of him, and
when she got pulled back?
Yeah.
Oh, that didn't even
I knew
dawn on
In
Gordon
me.
would
fairness,
show
I thought
up,
she would
but-
die because she's sort of a black person. So that's why I thought she would die. But I'm thinking less about, yes, Batman is a sacred cow or a sacred goat. However, DC made a standalone Joker. I don't hear any murmurings about a Joker sequel, and I think that has more to do with Joaquin Phoenix.
they are.
Is Joaquin Phoenix going to be in it?
That's what
Probably.
they're saying.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. But it's been so many years, and he's the kind of actor I can't see him sticking around with a franchise.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Robert Pattinson's feelings on franchises are, given what was the thing? Now I can't even remember the thing he was in.
Twilight?
Yeah.
Only one Harry Potter movie, right?
He's
yes,
Okay, his Cedric Diggory's only
yeah, because he
one.
died.
Because he died, duh.
He's doing.
Oh, I didn't know if he was in one
Do you guys
before
see
that,
that?
also.
Do you guys see that meme of they showed like who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu!
They showed like a outline of Diglett,
Yeah.
and then Cedric Diggory's dad go, "It's Diglett," and then it shows like a tombstone, and it shows Cedric Diggory's thing, and he goes like, "That's my boy."
I'm sure that's used a lot besides Cedric.
Oh no, that's horrific.
It's awful.
Um,
Anyway, my point was he's doing so many artsy fart things. I could see him still wanting to stick to his like Lighthouse A24 style, showing his acting chops kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Though I will say, there was one moment in this movie. I don't remember the scene it was, but there was a moment where he was like very much reacting, and I had flashbacks to the scene in Twilight where Bella walks in, and he just like covers his mouth and like just holds himself back, and I was like, oh. It's
Still
not
in
completely
there.
gone. It's still
Still
kind of
there.
there.
It's
It's still
still
kind of there. It's still kind of there.
I also would like what they're setting up. I would watch more Riddler. They're setting up that the Riddler might be back, not just the Joker.
And Penguin. Oh yeah,
We're definitely getting more
Have
Gotham.
they had anybody
Oh, I'm
escape
sorry.
from Arkham? That's the
So
thing
wait.
they do all the fucking time.
Here's one. I can't believe we didn't talk about this.
The TV series, yeah.
No,
Oh.
I was gonna say the movie very much seems to set up No Man's Land.
I don't know.
Go on.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
So No Man's
They
Land
kinda used
is
it in
a
Rises.
comic book arc that I think happens in Gotham, but it's definitely from the comic book, and they use it in Dark Knight
really?
Rises
Yeah.
as well. It's the idea of Gotham being cut off from basically the rest of the country, and they have to fend for themselves. And they also used it
Like
in
an
the
earthquake or
last
something.
Batman game.
Yeah,
Arkham
yeah.
Knight?
Yes.
Yeah, Arkham Knight.
And
Everyone
so
who
everybody
doesn't leave
uses
is
this
like, fuck you
storyline.
guys.
And it's the idea of all these villains just rising up to take over. And they talked about it, right? So you saw Penguin, and then he looked like he was like looking out on the city and thinking about what he was going to take, and that's what the voiceover was saying. And then you also had Riddler and Joker teaming up, becoming friends. So I think it's very interesting that they've gone straight to that, which is something that usually happens later on in Batman's
I'd like to have some villain growth like that. Like, instead of just bringing him back for like 5-minute parts, like in The Scarecrow, like seeing even the growth of the Riddler across. Like, especially since he has first he's fascinated with Batman. Now he's like, Batman didn't like me. We were supposed to be friends.
I love that moment in the movie where he freaked out that Batman wasn't like, he's like, no, I didn't work with you. He's like, what? No. He starts spinning around and being like,
Even he's still upset at the end when he sees the news.
yeah.
When the
like,
Joker talks to him.
It's just, it was really like, I did not see that coming. That he was like, he thought he was working with him. That was a really great reveal.
He said this one thing, and it sent him off the edge. And I can say that happens to me twice a week doing competency evaluation.
Laugh at that.
No, I don't want to use the word triggered, but he had on the uniform. His arms was in shackles, and he said a very benign thing.
So you do that? You go, no.
No,
Not this again.
I talk to people.
Oh, that's less funny. That's
who
why I
are-
laughed.
Right?
Okay.
No, not me. They don't say things to me that send me over the edge. I will say a very benign thing like, "Where were you born?" and they have their shackles on, then they scream and flip out because they don't want to answer the question because they're mentally ill.
Yeah.
And he had Arkham State Hospital, so obviously he has some sort of. It's implied that they all have a mental health issue, but just like and that he had a very long moment of not being emotionally regulated, and Batman was just all he could do was sit there and watch him flip out, which I
Still
felt that.
surprised Riddler didn't say back, like when he's like, you're crazy or whatever. Riddler's like, you're wearing a suit, dude.
Yeah, like you're
He's
nuts
psychotic.
too, dude.
Yeah, like, aren't we the same? Like, you're wearing a fucking suit.
He's not rational.
We're
right?
both
And-
dressed for
yeah.
Halloween.
Like that is the argument of a rational person. He's just not.
Yeah, he
Not
probably wouldn't
there.
be equipped to assist.
Yeah.
His attorney.
Was he competent? He's not competent.
Well, it depends on if he has already a mental health history, if he's high on methamphetamine, or if anything else is going on.
I found it interesting. We don't know who he is, right?
Edward Nash does.
They didn't.
Were they
They
sure?
didn't call him Nigma, did they?
No, they
No.
did not. No.
But it was
That's
Edward.
interesting.
I'm happy they didn't. Edward Nigma would have pulled me right the fuck out.
Really?
Yeah.
Because Batman Forever, where he's trying to figure it out. He's like,
Enigma.
Edward Nigma.
Yeah, I mean,
It's the worst.
it's
I
just,
love that movie.
In this world, Edward Nigma would be like, oh, it'd be weird, right?
It's
Is
too
Nigma
comic
a real
booky.
name?
Yeah, it's too comic booky.
It's not a Swedish name or a Vietnamese name.
Oh, that's
Even
a
if
good
it
point. They could have
is-
spelled it differently. They could have like a little umlaut above
What was
the
the other
Y.
one? There was the other idea was like Patrick's or something. Like the other name was really weird on the other idea.
Patrick's.
All with his punchable
yeah,
face.
yeah.
One of his fake IDs.
So did they confirm his name?
They did. I mean, they had.
They
like,
said
called
we-
him Edward
and they even
Nashville.
said where he worked. Did he work at like a carpet?
oh, he was an
Assuming
accountant.
Oh yeah, he was
somewhere.
an accountant.
Oh, right.
An
right,
accountant?
He even references that where he's
Or an
like,
accountant.
I couldn't fight someone with these hands. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Right. All right.
he does beat some people to death.
He does beat some people to death. He's full of shit.
But he's like comes up behind them and like
So
bludgeons
what?
them.
He still beat people to death.
But not with his hands.
It's not
He
easy
couldn't
to beat
strangle
someone to death.
someone
I'm
like
assuming.
Falcone.
Have you ever tried to beat someone to death? It's really hard.
Is it?
If I stuck up behind you with like a heavy object, I
Is it
no.
Jam?
I don't know.
Where were you born?
I don't know what that means.
Are you upset by the question?
No.
So apparently there is a scene where Collider is reporting that Matt Reeves said that there's a scene that's deleted where Robert Pattinson does meet this version of the Joker, and it got deleted.
Maybe
Good.
that's
God.
maybe that's to
Good.
not use him if people want him. That's the problem. Like Warner Brothers and the audience is like,
How
we
can
want
they
Joker.
still think this with how successful these other movies have been? How do they still think?
Warner
Joker
executives
made over
aren't very
$1 billion.
smart.
Joker is the most successful movie of all time. I'm sorry to say it's true.
R-rated, you mean, right?
No,
No.
all
DC?
overall.
No,
Yeah,
in terms
I
of
thought you meant
cost.
in
Warner
terms
Brothers.
of profit. No,
Costs, yeah.
DC.
Oh, because price versus just like
Yeah.
Hangover is the most profitable
It's their most profitable
comedy
movie of all time. It's their most profitable movie of all time.
By himself.
Yeah, Joker by himself.
Yeah, people are too obsessed. He pops up too much in the comics. It's like show me some
That
new
particular
characters.
movie was very well written, well acted.
Don't wanna
well,
see it
it had
again.
all the
Yeah.
Right,
I remember we talked
it's
on the
not
podcast
just
about
because but it's not just because it's the Joker, the character. It's because they did something really unique and creative and thorough with him. They didn't just slap him at the end of another movie.
Yeah,
And it's not like people aren't. What was
They're
the
not
other-
going only because
the
of the
Starfish
Joker.
villain in
Starro.
Suicide Squad,
Starro.
which is fucking fucking stupid, and it was hilarious, and people, I loved it.
I don't think they do that with the Batman movies. That's like the James Gunn area.
No.
Like even Peacemaker.
But what I'm saying is,
on an apprehended.
what I'm
man.
saying is, they've demonstrated that even really absurd, obscure comic things, if they do it right,
Yeah.
people like it. You don't have to depend on Joker
Yeah.
to,
And it
to
looks
sell
like
these movies.
they're doing that in movies like The Flash and stuff. And Matt Reeves movies are never going to get
I mean,
silly.
Peacemaker.
Well, yeah,
Yeah. I'm just saying, that and Peacemaker.
But those are both Gunn. I think some of the other directors will do some fun stuff like in The Flash.
You're right, they haven't really tackled any low key villains in film yet, or any low key characters in film.
I hope Hugo Strange. I think they
I
can do
know.
that.
You hope what?
I hope they do Hugo Strange. Like, I think that could be
so
really
cool.
That would be pretty cool.
He would be my number one.
And the nice
Who'd
thing
you want to
about
play?
it is,
Who'd you want to play Hugo Strange? I'm just curious. Sorry to interrupt, but
well, I was
Doctor
just gonna say,
Strange,
you
no.
An
wouldn't
older
even
guy.
need him to be the main villain, right? So you've already introduced Arkham. You could just have
he could-
him working there.
I need this.
Who's left that hasn't been in a comic movie except Leonardo DiCaprio? Everybody has a comic person.
Well, you can still have been in Marvel and bring him over.
I guess. Okay, who's an older Marvel person that could...
Jeff Goldblum.
No.
I'm just joking.
But
I have to think
I
about
wasn't
that.
suggesting Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm saying he's the only person who hasn't been a comic person.
Matthew McConaughey said no, no, no.
Really?
Yeah, he's one of the people who said he hates those type of movies.
Oh, you're right. He has another one. How funny.
There are a few probably.
I think we should get Martin Scorsese to be Hugo Strange.
Who's the guy? We
Walton
should get
Goggins.
The Russo brother who was in that group therapy. He should be Hugo Strange. We should get the Russo brother to be Hugo Strange.
Joe Russo should be Hugo Strange.
Hugo Strange.
Who's a person who's
Treat
Michael
like Gotham.
Douglas adjacent?
Oh, that's a good idea. Michael Douglas.
Not him because he's too old, but like somebody younger who kind of has his vibe and aesthetic.
Like I said, I didn't like the performance, but I liked who played him. in
I know who I
Gotham.
want to be Hugo Strange.
Who?
You just said you loved the performance and.
Well, no, I said I liked him, but I've never seen Hugo
Ben
Strange.
Kingsley.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I dig it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's silly in Marvel, but he's a very prestigious.
Yeah, and he's all
And
like
he can do both.
Ooh.
bald, glasses.
Donald Sutherland.
He's in his
How long is he
90s.
going to be alive?
How old is he? Hey, Google. Wow. How old is Donald Sutherland?
Donald Sutherland is 86 years old.
Why am I into old people today? What's wrong with me?
He even looks old. Billy D doesn't look as old.
Yeah, he looks like he's
Kiefer.
Not
then.
to, you know-
Since he wasn't in this film.
not to be
Kiefer Sutherland.
ableist
I
or
want Ben
ageist.
Kingsley.
Kiefer is no. I mean, I agree. Ben Kingsley is a good option.
I think I
Like-
come up with a better one, but not at the moment.
What?
Oh,
Than Kingsley.
Here.
It's- I know
Yeah,
what
I'm going to turn this and
Christian Slater.
Ooh, that'd be a good one. That's interesting.
bald,
He could do
mustache,
it.
glasses.
Yeah, he could do it. I don't.
That's-
No one's contesting.
Oh.
No
Yeah.
one's contesting that Ben Kingsley could do it.
I
Like
just
without
think
a
there's
doubt.
got to be
Yes.
some other great person, too. There's options.
Yeah. Anything else that you all would like to say about this before
Nah,
we
it's a solid
shut
watch.
down?
No, it's worth watching. It's fun.
I gave it its lowest grade, and my grade was a B. Yeah. Did they
See,
they
there's the
base
Gotham
him on
one.
him like Nick, like Sam Jackson and Nick Fury? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So we're looking at an image of Hugo Strange from the comics alongside Hugo Strange
That's
from
That picture's
Gotham.
from Prey.
From Prey, alongside Hugo Strange from Gotham, played by
The Henry Wu. No,
it'd be
not Henry
Benedict, one of the Benedict
No,
BD
Wong.
Wong.
BD Wong. Yeah, that's it.
Or who was the guy who was the computer in the Captain America trilogy?
Oh, the guy who plays Armin Zola.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
He would be.
He plays Dobby.
He does.
Yes, he does.
I didn't know that.
I
really.
can't remember his name. He's gonna be Indiana Jones, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
I love that guy whenever he pops up.
No, he's great.
I normally know.
I
his
don't
name.
know his name though.
It's a pretty good pick.
You should look it up on your computer.
It's only because he played a doctor before.
All right. Anything
Bill
else? before we
Murray.
shut down?
I just saw a picture on
Hugo
his
Strange?
phone, and I'm like, Bill Murray
Now
looks
you're
like
just-
Hugo
We're just gonna
Strange.
start naming people.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell, Colin Farrell,
It is
Dual
Toby
roles.
Jones.
Toby
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah.
He would be a really interesting choice.
He would be an interesting choice. I
Because
don't know if
he
he'd
can
be.
I don't think he'd be as
menacing.
good, but he'd be,
I don't think he'd be as good as Bet.
he'd be a smaller. Hugo Strange is kind of.
Who did you suggest again?
Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley. I kept thinking Benedict Wong. Nope. I was confusing with BD Wong, Ben Kingsley.
Wow, you're all
I'm
over
all
the
over
place.
the place right now.
What are you drinking? What's in that drink?
Alcohol.
All right.
Toby Kebbell. Could be Victor's ass.
Yes.
I actually don't even know what he looks like. I only know him from the Apes movies.
He was also
I'm trying to remember what else.
Apocalypse.
He was Apocalypse? No, he wasn't.
Wasn't he?
That was Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he was in Fantastic Four.
Fan Force?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
was he
yeah.
Doctor Doom?
Yes. Yes.
Got it.
So you can still be Marvel and DC.
You know, if you weren't going to pick somebody that was like Middle Eastern or someone from the area, I think Toby Kebbell would be a good race.
I don't even know.
And they picked.
I don't know what's the mythology behind
Irish.
the
Lazarus Pit.
yeah.
Which
No, behind the oh my god, I'm not here. The
Lazarus Pit?
not the Lazarus Pit. Maybe Lazarus Pit, but like the
League of Shadows.
Yeah, League of Shadows.
Only it's League of Assassins
Oh.
and the other stuff.
What's the mythology behind it? Like, where's that located supposedly?
Tibet.
Is it Tibet?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So maybe we can go
with
for
You'll get a Tibetan person.
or a Tibetan person. Or,
But that's not where he's from, right?
Oh, was he
He's-
white
is he
person
white in the
who,
comics?
who
So
appropriated?
No.
in Batman Begins...
How hard was the appropriation in the comics?
Super hard. He's not.
Super hard.
He's not Liam
So
Neeson.
if we were to go, like, ethnically appropriate, I am sad to admit that I have no idea any actors who would be a fit for
But
the role.
I would support an unknown doing it. So
Yeah.
Hugh Get Strange, and you get.
Hugh Get, is that a female?
I'm trying to remember their female name. And you get the freaky looking woman who.
Are you talking about
Tilda Swinton?
Tilda
You get
Swinton?
Tilda Swinton.
Let's do that again.
Yeah.
You're going to do that again?
Have her play all of the Asians.
her and Scarlett Johansson can be the entire Asian American SAG. Yeah.
No, not as Roz.
Her and
as,
Scarlett
Strange.
Johansson could just basically play the sequel in
Talia
Shang-Chi.
and Raish. Yeah.
Shang-Chi, the sequel, just both of them play all of the roles.
Hugo
just
Strange,
the Asian roles. though.
not the Doctor
I think
Strange.
we're slap
route.
happy. You're gonna have some.
Yeah.
I think so.
You're gonna have to herd this fleet of cats.
You guys ready? Shut
Wrap
it
it
down.
up. Wrap it up.
All
Cut the
right.
check.
Well, as I said, this is a very special episode of Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast.
Wait,
Maybe...
sorry.
What? God damn you!
Are you going to incorporate Danny's feedback into this episode?
Yeah, I'm gonna find it.
I just want to make sure I want to give a transition point if needed.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right.
You're welcome for this gem of an episode, by the way.
Yeah, it should be super long.
This
Third
isn't that long.
anniversary.
I think the
Oh.
last 15 minutes are just probably.
Nah.
On the cutting room
All
floor?
I disagree.
Nah.
Hard
That's not how we
disagree.
roll.
Hard disagree.
Well,
Now
now
we start asking Google questions in the middle of a podcast.
We've never had that power before. We've never been in the same room.
He has.
What have I
He's
done?
upstairs.
No. Yeah. I'm upstairs.
Now we need to end it right now. Now we're really off topic.
I would eat my food and go home.
Drink water. All right. So, dear listener, it's been a really special episode, 3-year anniversary episode. We got to review Batman, but we got to do it together, mostly.
Physically.
Physically. Yes, together physically. Sorry.
In case that wasn't clear, did we ever,
Yes.
point that out
we
that we're
said it.
together?
We're all in the
I said
same
at the
room.
beginning.
Alright.
What are you drinking?
I told you.
Alcohol.
I know. Just gonna keep asking.
This is my second beer. What's wrong
Doesn't
with me?
seem like
In
it.
fairness, the conversation got sidetracked by who knew whom before we got here, so nobody actually
Sidetracked
said,
by me at the beginning. So.
Well, both of you.
And now we brought it full circle.
Yay!
I flew in from Washington. You can move that to the beginning.
Yeah, I got some notes from you. You can move this part to about 36 minutes into the episode.
The madness.
So, dear listener, thanks for listening. We appreciate it. We will catch you on the next one. Hasta lasagna.
Don't get me on ya.
Mission accomplished.
Rambo?
What? No, that's Mission Impossible.
Remember when he says the cheesy part at the end of the fourth one? He hits the button, he thinks he's disarming the nuke. He's like, mission accomplished!
Oh,
and then it
no.
doesn't go off, and he's like, hitting the button.
I was just thinking
And
about
then Rames
Rambo.
is like, did you
Clear-
actually say that?
All of our references are Mission Impossible.
I mean, I got it, but I just didn't know that one.
No, me and him did the hasta lasagna thing, because he said it to me, and then I'm like, don't get any on ya. And we're like, oh shit, we both
I
like
thought
that line.
wasn't I the first person to say don't get any on you?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure.
I know you did test cake because you thought they said cake.
No,
I still
it's
say
toast,
it's cake.
toast,
Toast cake. I still
cake.
say it's toast cake, and I'm confirming that by the amount of wrong subtitles I've seen just in various TV shows since then.
That's a good
That is-
point.
I saw that in theaters
What?
with Joseph. And you, like,
Oh, we did. We did see it,
doesn't-
but it wasn't subtitled.
No, I know, but that's the point. You can hear it clearly
see
in a
it.
movie theater. He's not saying cake. Especially with the it was the 4K remake. Or
You
whatever.
heard something clearly?
Can we end this, Jonesy, please?
I
thought you said
He
recording.
already
yeah.
said mission accomplished.
I mean,
that
I
was
did
it.
end it, but no. Didn't stop recording.
I know you didn't do
What
that.
is your deal with recording people without their permission?
loud here.
Attorney.